space-time transaction. Exchanging food for the elf princess at the start. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 476. Alice's arrival seemed to open Pandora's box. Soon Suyi was surrounded by a large group of aristocratic ladies from the magical world, who had their own unique talents. The Orioles and Swallows are so beautiful. Of course, there cannot be an ugly person who can be sent to do this kind of thing. It is no exaggeration to say that, after combining the dual buffs of identity plus appearance, these are probably the most beautiful women in the entire magical world. Suyi's hang was very free, so he didn't mind chatting with these women. Anyway, it's all nonsense with little nutrition, just to pass the time. This situation lasted for several hours. It was not until we came back from her inspection that the group of women vying for beauty withdrew unwillingly. Before leaving, I didn't forget all kinds of hints. Ah, you tempted? How about I have someone arrange a big room for you? Wee raised her eyebrows. Okay, are you coming too? Suyi hugged her slender waist. Get out. Wee scolded with a smile. By this time, the first day's reception was basically over. There will be celebrations for several days in a row, but as the master of the empire, Wee does not need to come every day. She only needs to show up on the last day of the celebration. The two left the banquet hall and got on the chariot together to return to the palace. Of course, on such a cold day, you obviously need to take a bath before going. A normal person would be so exhausted after participating in this kind of celebration for a whole day that he would be too exhausted to move. But fortunately, they are both practitioners, full of energy. And they are still in high spirits at this time. After breaking through the window paper, we seemed to have found the fun and became very active. I don't know if it was the sight of Suyi surrounded by a group of celebrities at the cocktail party that made her feel in crisis. The clouds pass and the rain falls. Where was the child you brought back from the north sent to? In the huge and warm palace. Suyi hugged Wee and whispered softly. He cannot stay in this world forever, and the only unstable factor in this world is the person in charge behind it, the so-called supreme god. Not to mention finding it directly now, at least before he returns to Blue Star. He must find some clues and have a reason for someone to check it out. The old man in the library died suddenly after he finished speaking. The gods in the magical world have long suspected that there is someone controlling the world behind the scenes. For hundreds of thousands of years, they have not been able to find out who or where this person is. After Suyi lost the clue of the old man in the library, he didn't think he could search for information any better than those gods who had lived for hundreds of thousands of years. Therefore, if you want to find traces of that person, you still have to find the reason first, so that you can clear away the fog and smooth it out. Being arranged in the palace, I always felt that the matter in the north was not that simple. The old man I saw in the illusion finally seemed to want me to treat this girl well, so I planned to raise her in the palace first and wait for her to grow up. If you are older, give her a title, which will at least ensure her wealth for the rest of her life. In fact, we also thought that the little girl was unusual at first. On the way back to the imperial capital, she spent time with him day and night. But I haven't been able to find out any useful information. It can only be said that this little girl is indeed much smarter and more sensible than other children of the same age, but she is still within the scope of normal children. There was nothing magical about it from beginning to end. Gradually, we stopped paying so much attention to her. After all, she was just a little girl who survived a butcher's knife. Since she had formed a good relationship, it was certainly not a big deal to give her a lifetime of wealth. But with Wee-Woo's current status, she has too many things to do every day, and it is impossible to put too much energy on a little girl. Let's go and have a look tomorrow. Suyi pondered for a moment. Let's go together. Well, when? Wee-Woo didn't care about this. Go at dawn. So early? But tomorrow is my first court meeting. Will this? Wee hesitated. Make them wait. Things like the court meeting, may be a first-class event in the eyes of others, but it is completely insignificant to Suyi. Point. As long as the person behind the scenes is solved, it doesn't matter if the entire magical world is left to Wee to play as a star. Does it matter whether he goes to court or not? What's more, what about going to court? Can the internal problems of the Blazing Sun Empire be solved now? Can the nobles bow their heads and cooperate obediently in the last dynasty? Apparently not. Point. The time has not come yet, and these aristocratic classes are still actually dominating the political ecology of the world. Point. If you want to make them obedient, it's still early. Point. The so-called court meeting is just a negotiation ground for mutual compromise. It makes no difference whether it is earlier or later. Early the next morning, Suyi and Wee went to a private garden in the palace. Point. Fresh and elegant, very quiet. Point. The name of this little girl who was picked up is Ying, which is a very rare one-letter name in today's magical world. According to her, she was given it by the mysterious village chief. Point. When the two came to this villa, Ying had already gotten up. Point. I just finished washing myself with the help of two maids. Upon seeing Wee's arrival, Ying's face suddenly showed a look of surprise and she quickly ran over. Sister, are you here to see me? Well, how is it living here recently? Can you adapt? Wee squatted down and rubbed her head, saying softly, yes, I have never lived in such a good place before. It's good to get used to it. Have you had breakfast? Not yet. Let's eat together. Wee turned to look at the maid. Go and make arrangements. Yes, Your Majesty. The two maids bowed and retreated quickly. Point. Although they were very confused as to why the new emperor did not go to court early in the morning on the first day of his accession to the throne, but ran to the small courtyard in the corner of the palace to see a little girl. Point. But this kind of palace eunuch still has a basic sense of confidentiality, so naturally they dare not ask or say too much. Point. After all, not everyone is in a hurry to die. Point. These two are definitely those who don't want to die for the time being. Point. After everyone left, Wee came and took Ying to the table, saying in a gentle voice, this brother wants to ask you a few questions. You answer truthfully, okay? Ying looked at Suyi and nodded crisply. Okay, brother, ask. Suyi stared at her for a long time, specifically at her eyes. The pale golden eyes were very similar to the old man he met in the library yesterday. Point. After staring for a while, he suddenly smiled and swallowed all the questions he had prepared to ask. Point. With a flip of his hand, the imperial seal that he had obtained in Blue Star appeared in his hand. Do you recognize this thing? When Ying saw the seal, her eyes were still a little confused, but then she seemed to find something wrong in it. Her pupils suddenly shrank, and she looked at Suyi in disbelief. Chapter 477. Ying, who had been behaving like a child of her age, suddenly changed her expression after Suyi took out the imperial seal. Point. She seemed to have no time to hide anything. After a pause, she turned to look at Wee and asked anxiously, where's the umbrella? Wee's expression changed slightly. She stared at the little girl who had followed her all the way south and had been with her for nearly 2 months, and said in a deep voice, who are you? At this point, if she still hadn't discovered that there was something wrong with this little girl, then there was something wrong with her. Don't worry about who I am. You just need to know that I have no ill will towards you. Ying didn't want to answer her question at all and continued to ask, where's the umbrella of the people? It's very important. Where did you put it? Wee pondered for a moment and took out the umbrella of the people whose wishes were sucked dry by the imperial seal from the space. Point. Looking at this broken umbrella that had no spirit and no luster, the little girl's face turned pale. It's over. It's over. Ding. Dong. A crisp sound came from the table, followed by Suyi's lazy voice. You'd better not worry about the broken umbrella for now. It's hard to say whether it will be broken or not. If you can't give me a reasonable explanation, I'm afraid it's over today. Ying looked in the direction of the voice and found a small iron ball spinning on the table. Point. The iron ball looks ordinary, even very simple, but it gives people a sense of sharpness, which makes people unable to look directly at it. Sword. Ball. Ying's eyes showed surprise. A magic weapon that can only be made by people above the Yuanying stage of orthodox cultivation civilization. Mr. Su actually has such a treasure. It seems that you know a lot of things. Suyi sneered. Point. After communicating with the old man in the library yesterday, he had some guesses, so he was not surprised by this, but he could sit still. But we couldn't sit still. Point. After hearing the little girl reveal the origin of the sword ball, we immediately stood up from her seat, staring at the little girl with her fiery red eyes, as if there were flames in her eyes. Your Majesty, there is no need to do this. It was just a temporary measure, to hide it from you before. I said, I have no ill will towards you. The little girl's face showed a maturity that was seriously inconsistent with her age. Suyi grabbed Weiwu's hand and pulled her to sit next to him. After signaling her not to panic, he continued, tell me, what are you? Are you also a servant of the so-called supreme god? Or a god left over from ancient times? Or are you Will himself? I don't have much patience. You'd better answer quickly. I didn't hesitate to hear the words, and said directly, you guessed right. I'm a servant of the great supreme god Will, but I'm not a so-called god left over from ancient times. Originally, I was just a servant of the Shenglin village. I was an ordinary child. At that time, Shenglin village was not called Shenglin village, but Linksy village. The land in Linksy village is fertile, and a lot of food can be harvested every year. So many people live in the village, and I used to be a very inconspicuous one among them. If nothing unexpected happened, I should have grown up like all the children in the village, and then found someone to marry in the same village or the next village, ending this ordinary life. But many times, fate is so cruel. 200-man foreign cavalry from the north destroyed everything that should have been beautiful. My entire village was slaughtered, and I was my parents hid in the cellar and barely survived the war, but they almost starved to death. In their dying moments, the merciful god appeared before me, gave me food, and gave me previously unimaginable power, allowing me to avenge my parents and relatives with my own hands. He is Will. Since then, he has become the village chief of Linksy village, and the village has been renamed Shenglin village. It was like this for a long time, until a few months ago, when Shenglin village was destroyed by the rebel army again, and everyone was destroyed. I once asked him, since he had such a powerful power, why did he run to such a village, and become a small village chief? The one outside I can crush all those so-called gods with one hand, not to mention Lord Will who gave me such power casually. But his answer still makes me confused. He said he was waiting for someone, and he took this opportunity to do something. If he succeeds, he can give it to that person as a small gift. During that long period of time, Lord Will taught me a lot of things, including the iron ball in your hand. I have never seen it, but I know its origin is here. She seemed to be waiting for an opportunity to confess, without any intention of hiding. Point. When Suyi asked, she said a lot like pouring beans give a huge amount of information at once. Point. It makes people unable to fully accept it for a while. Point. Fortunately, in order to ensure that no details are missed, Suyi released several micro drones when entering this yard, recording and filming the conversation here in all directions without blind spots after returning. You can take it out and taste it again and again, so there is no need to worry about missing anything. Point. After listening to her, Suyi and Wei looked at each other, and then they heard Wei use magic to transmit the message. At that time, I read the records of Shenglin village in the local government office. It was about 1,200 years ago that the village was changed from Linksy village to Shenglin village. The reason for the name change was that a foreign tribe from the northern border went south to plunder and massacred the original Linksy village. The name of the first village chief is unknown. The records only mention that this person was a businessman from the south. Because he was tired of running around, he settled down in the empty Shenglin village and recruited some refugees and mercenaries to serve as villagers. The whole village developed from this. Specifically, it was 1,237 years ago that Shenglin village was officially registered and established in the government office. Aang suddenly interrupted. You don't need to communicate like this. I can hear you. He was a little embarrassed, but Suyi was quite interested. So how old are you now? 1,243 years old. When the village was massacred, I was just 6 years old. This Age is quite explosive on Blue Star, but in this magical world, she is not an old witch of the shocking level point. It's just that she looks like a 5 or 6-year-old child, which is a bit out of place point, but think about Yaoyu's old Deng, who has lived for hundreds of thousands of years, and now looks like an innocent girl. Standing next to Wee Wee, the granddaughter of who knows how many generations, they look like sisters. It doesn't seem so out of place. The last question is, who is Will? Or, let me ask more specifically, how many Wills are there in this world? Chapter 478. Judging from the current situation, the Will he met in the library yesterday, and the servant of God point with the little girl I met today, and the Will she mentioned point, no matter how you look at it, you don't look like you're traveling the same way point. The former seems to have a lot of malice towards the agents of their trading platform, but the latter doesn't seem to have much malice. They even expected this day 1,000 years ago, and prepared a gift with unknown meaning point. This is somewhat confusing point. Of course, what is certain is that Will is definitely related to the trading platform point. There is a high probability that he was once a member of the trading platform point. As for why it has become like this, it depends on whether the servant of God in front of him is willing to speak frankly. Will is Will. He is the supreme God in this world. He has all power, and is omnipotent and omniscient. When she mentioned this, Aang's expression became very serious and pious, clearly a cult believer. Once upon a time, the cultivation system and civilization in this world were not what they are today. With the help of Lord Will, the cultivation civilization of the entire world flourished, and it was about to develop into the ultimate form of metaphysical civilization, the civilization of immortality. The world at that time was so beautiful, and all cultivators were the darlings of this world. The realm of vitality and all things competing is still before our eyes. I sing the Bible point. Suyi was out of action in a second. Fortunately, what this guy said after that was not "I have the advantage," otherwise he would have thought that a bald man had traveled to another world and turned into a Lalita who was more than 1,000 years old. Point. After saying this, Aang's face immediately showed disgust again, and she continued, but the good times didn't last long. When the world was booming, he met a liar, fraud. Aang raised her head, glanced between Wee Wei and Suyi for a moment, and sneered. Yes, a liar from another world. This liar gained Will's trust through some means, and took the opportunity to steal some of God's authority. Although God will not die after his power was stolen, he lost in the fight with this liar, and the liar eventually became the new god of this world. In order to prevent us from developing a real civilization of cultivating immortals, and then the emergence of super individuals that cannot be treated with common sense, and develop more powerful than themselves in a short period of time, this evil god began to kill people all over the world. After taking control of it, for 3,000 years, he slaughtered everyone who had anything to do with cultivation. All knowledge and books related to cultivation, no matter how closely they were hidden, were burned by him. The cultivation civilization of this world was completely interrupted, but this is different from the technological world after all. It is a metaphysical world. Even if the evil god kills everyone in the world, new people will naturally begin to explore this path of cultivation tens of millions of years later. The evil god was troubled by this. Finally, by chance, he came into contact with the origin of this world, so an evil plan emerged to use the origin of the world to block the advancement path of this world's cultivation system. That was 800,000 years ago. As soon as these words came out, Suyi finally showed a look of surprise. Point. At the same time, I couldn't help but admire the bad luck, or ability, of this so-called evil god Will, who had seized power. After all, what is the nature of the metaphysical world? There is almost no suspense in the answer: immortality. But he did his best to steal the source of the world, so that all talented practitioners in the world can easily obtain immortality. Point. As for the deformed magic and martial arts training system in the magic world today, that guy may not have taken the initiative to create it. Point. Because this cultivation system is obviously a semi-finished product in the development process of metaphysical civilization. In the words of Linear and of the world of cultivating immortals, under normal circumstances, over time, after this path reaches its extreme, it will naturally turn to serious cultivation of immortals. No matter how bad it is, they will gradually combine magic with martial arts. After making some changes, they will enter the era of psychic martial arts, the world of immortality cultivation. That linear and was in actually followed the development path of spiritual martial arts before a serious system of immortality cultivation was developed in ancient times. It was probably the kind of martial arts that Suyi recognized. It was at this critical moment that the development of civilization was forcibly interrupted in the magical world, so it was awkwardly stuck in the deformed system of magical martial arts. It stayed there for hundreds of thousands of years, unable to move forward. After all, the top group of people in the world could easily obtain the ultimate pursuit of metaphysics practitioners and obtain immortality. Naturally, there is no desire to continue exploring and developing. Even if a few vicious species occasionally appear among them, they will not be able to achieve great results under the various methods of the evil god. So this so-called evil god will and the will you are talking about are actually the same person, two sides of the same body. So Yi quickly grasped the key point. Ying was silent for a moment, then nodded and said, so to speak, the evil god comes from another world, and will is a native of the magical world, combined with the way Ying looked at him, and we were before. Therefore, these two people should be members of the trading platform, and most of them are trading partners who have known each other for a long time. Then one of them discovered something about the trading platform, lost trust in the trading platform, and wanted to get out of the control of the trading platform. But he was unwilling to go to other worlds to be someone's younger brother, so he came up with such a dirty trick of taking over the trading partner. This is the most likely situation that Suyi thinks among the information currently obtained. As for the real situation, looking at Ying's appearance, she probably doesn't know. After all, she is just a little girl who was rescued by the serious will, and she is not an eyewitness to those things back then. But if his guess is correct, this involves another problem. After being taken over, is Will dead or not? He should not have left this world, so he naturally would not lose his membership of the trading platform. But Wei has now become a real member of the platform, which can only mean that he is dead. But this doesn't look like he is dead. As if seeing through his doubts, Ying said calmly, they are not dead. Strictly speaking, both the gods and the evil gods are still alive. It's just that their true bodies have been immersed in the origin of the world. No power can peek into the mystery, so some of the authority that originally belonged to the gods fell on her head. At the end, she looked at Wei. The origin of the world can block the detection of trading platforms. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 479. Suyi felt that he seemed to have roughly figured out the ins and outs of the matter. First of all, the brother named Will should be the member of the trading platform in this world before we were. As a member of the trading platform, he guided the cultivation system of the entire world to flourish, and it was once infinitely close to the civilization of cultivating immortals at this time. Another member of the trading platform, or a partner of Will on the trading platform, wanted to give up his membership of the trading platform for some reasons. He should be very strong, and then he took advantage of Will's trust in him to come to this world, and almost killed Will, who was also a member. It's just that Will died but not stiff, and in the end it became a situation similar to possession, one body and two souls, and both of them became Will. Until this time, Will's identity as a member of the trading platform should still be there. Later, for some reason, they discovered the origin of this world. Then they plunged into it. As one of the most original powers in the universe, the power of the origin of the world can shield the detection of the trading platform. If no members are detected in this world for more than a month, the trading platform will naturally cancel the original member's identity, and the trading platform member from another world will also successfully escape from the control of the trading platform. And on this basis, he went a step further and gained almost unlimited life through the power of the origin of the world, reaching the point of truly living as long as the heaven and earth. He also successfully locked the upper limit of the cultivation system of this world with this thing, and no one could threaten him. But thinking of this, Suyi keenly discovered one of the wrong points. After a moment of stunned, he looked at Aang and said in a deep voice, "So, before that alien came, we had already discovered the origin of the world, right? The most critical thing in the whole plan is the origin of the world point. Without this thing, even if the members of the other world hide in this world, this is also a world under the trading platform system, and it is hard to say whether they will be liquidated. And without this thing, when the cultivation system is locked, everyone's life is limited, naturally including him, the alien. Even if he has enough means to make himself live longer. Those practitioners who are eager for longevity will gradually develop their own cultivation system with a goal. One day, people will realize the flaws of magic and martial arts and find the correct path. Therefore, all this actually happened on the premise of discovering the origin of the world. But according to Lin Yiren, this thing can only be encountered by chance, no matter what world it is in. Under normal circumstances, you can't find this thing. Otherwise, once its ability to make people live forever is exposed to people, it would have been divided up by those cultivators. Compared with the temptation of longevity, few people would care whether doing so is exhausting the pond to catch fish. Therefore, before this guy in the other world decided to do this, he should have known the origin of the world. It is likely that Will, the original member of this world, told him. Yes. Aang sighed. God once said that the thing he regretted most in his life was to reveal such important information to the other party during the transaction. So, Yi nodded, and it was not surprising that he had already guessed it. Then he asked, "What's next? What's your purpose in giving Wei the umbrella that carries the will of all living beings? This is the only way to kill the evil god." Aang said in a deep voice, "The evil god hides in the endless origin of the world. Theoretically, his lifespan is almost the same as that of this world. He will never die unless the world is destroyed. If you want to kill him, you must use power of the same level. The will of all living beings is one of them. But the god doesn't know how to use it specifically. He spent hundreds of thousands of years groping for a clue and made the umbrella. This path has too many limitations. We can't go in this direction of cultivation. You don't have to think about it." So, Yi didn't leave her any suspense and said decisively. The example Lin Yiren gave him was vivid enough. The so-called power is not that the closer you are to the origin, the better, but the best is the one that suits people. In the world of cultivating immortals, the empire that established the Yun dynasty to cultivate the will of all living beings, at its peak, killed gods and buddhas, and even killed immortals who came to the earth, and directly hung the heads of immortals from the upper world on the market, which was very impressive. What was the result? In just a few hundred years, the empire lost its space for expansion, internal conflicts began to intensify, and its strength plummeted. The power of the will of all living beings comes from all living beings, but life, or intelligent creatures, is the most difficult to quantify. You never know what kind of abstract work the people around you will do next, not to mention the world. This is destined to be a road that will not go far. Suyi couldn't let Wei do this, and he knew the situation of his own woman very well, and Wei didn't have the ability to do this. Let her pick up a knife and chop people. It's okay. Let her be a top politician, control people's hearts, let everyone in the world support her crazily, and control the power of all living beings. That's really too difficult for Wei. Aang immediately got anxious and stood up to say something. But the next moment, accompanied by the clanging of swords, the sword pull on the table instantly turned into a gorgeous long sword, which was pressed against her throat, which immediately made her calm down again, and she hurriedly said, "This is the only way, otherwise this world." "What does this world have to do with us?" Suyi asked back. "Don't get one thing wrong, we are members of the trading platform. As long as we don't commit suicide, we don't have to worry about our lives under any circumstances. Your god didn't tell you this, did he? What's going on in the world has nothing to do with me. Why should we really go down a dead end to wipe the ass of your god? Isn't he a god? Why should later generations solve the sins he has committed? In the case of ensuring his own interests. He doesn't mind helping the world and letting ordinary people live a good life point, but before his own interests are guaranteed, why should he, or we, sacrifice himself for others? If the path of cultivating the will of all living beings is easy to walk, it would have become the mainstream in the world of cultivating immortals who pursue power. How can it be a flash in the pan? He is not stupid like Will, who can be deceived by the trading partner and lose the world point. The information communicated with linear and as all authentic information under the restrictions of the platform terms. Eyeing was speechless for a moment and turned to look at Wee point. Wee still didn't understand the whole story until now point, but after a moment of hesitation, she took Suyi's arm and said, I will listen to his arrangements. Chapter 480. The evil god's behavior will accelerate the destruction of this world. When the source of the world is exhausted, this place will become a real dead zone. Eyeing sighed. At that time, how can you represent the world and sit on the Daoyate and watch from the sidelines? Indeed, with your current status, and having never met the evil god, he can't deceive you again the same way he deceived our lord. Moreover, there is a protection mechanism of the trading platform. As long as you are wary, he will take anything from you away, but your base is still this world after all. Once the world is destroyed, what will you have? The throne of the Blazing Sun Empire? It's just a meaningless thing. Her words were not alarmist, but rather sincere. Point after all, this is what it is. After thinking for a while, she added, don't think that he has been suppressing the world's cultivation system, so as long as you introduce serious methods of cultivating immortals, you can kill him. He suppressed the cultivation system just to ensure that no one stronger than himself would appear in this world, so that he could walk around the world at will without the origin of the world. Once someone stronger than him appears, he only needs to hide back, and no one can do anything to him. In the origin of the world, normal power cannot kill him. That's a rule-based restriction that's beyond one's ability to a certain extent. He currently represents the will of heaven in this world to a certain extent, so Yi was non-committal and did not comment. Point after all, this was obviously said to Wee Wee, not him. Point Wee Wee is a platform member of the magic world, so it's not easy for him to answer questions like this. Fortunately, although Wee Wee is not good at governing the country, she is still quite talented at negotiation. Point hearing this, he became very bachelor and said, I don't know if it's been hundreds of thousands of years, but isn't the world still in a good place? If I really want to be destroyed, I don't even know how long I have been dead by then. After I die, the flood will come to the sky. Even if I'm not dead yet, the worst I can do is go to another world and give up my identity as an agent. So, Yi never said anything. He was just telling the other party that he could ignore the affairs of this world and exert extreme pressure to force the other party to give more useful information. Point we can naturally see this now. This is also a matter of cooperating with Suyi. Point, and if that time really comes, she will not just resign herself to fate and be destroyed together with the world and this world. Point, to put it bluntly, she is a member of the trading platform, so she has somewhere to go. Point, if you use the destruction of the world or something like that to force her to follow the route planned by God, she won't be able to agree to it at all. Point, but while Wee Wee was playing with Aang, Suyi was thinking about other things. Will, the original platform member of this world, wants to use the willpower of sentient beings, which is theoretically equal to the power of the world's origin, to fight fire with poison and kill the outsider Will who is hiding in the world's origin. Point, but this is just Lao Deng's guess, and it is difficult to say whether it can be achieved. Point, but Suyi had something in his hand that could kill the shrunken turtle hidden in the origin of the world without even doing so. Point, it's just that the uncertainty of this thing is too strong, and Suyi can't guarantee whether it will accelerate the destruction of the world. Point, this thing is the national jade seal. Point, or simply put, they are dragon eggs raised by nature. Point, this thing can absorb the original power of the world in the will of all living beings to accelerate incubation. Point, the last time the umbrella came close to the jade seal of the kingdom, the power of all sentient beings' wishes that will had accumulated for countless years was sucked dry. Point, even this little thing seems not enough to stuff the dragon egg between the teeth. Point, if you throw it into the origin of the world. Suyi was a little unsure whether the evil god would die first, or whether the origin of the world would be sucked dry by the dragon egg and then destroyed directly. Even If you don't participate, he won't let you go. Aing's voice brought Suyi, who was lost in thought, back to reality, and she continued, this person seems to have discovered something in his original world, and is unusually repelled and afraid of the trading platform. Since you have become a member of the trading platform, I'm afraid you have been targeted by him for some time. The reason why he hasn't taken action now is that he hasn't figured out how to deal with you yet, but as an old man on the trading platform, he knows the mechanism of the platform very well and can always think of ways. At that time, you will be like the original true God will, who used conspiracy and tricks to usurp power. This is not alarmist. You can only commit a thief in 1,000 days. There is no reason to prevent a thief in 1,000 days, so Yi still agreed with this, unless we plans to stop being a member of the trading platform Magic World. Otherwise, this guy hiding in the dark will definitely be dealt with. So, what kind of strength does this person have? Suyi asked directly. After talking so much without any practical information, I'm afraid it will be difficult for us to continue talking. Will once said that the evil god practiced a serious system of cultivating immortals, and his cultivation level was probably at the stage of becoming a god. The more specific details are not clear. Aang was a little unsure. Without saying a word, Suyi stood up and pulled Wei to leave. Are you kidding me? Hundreds of thousands of years ago it was the stage of transformation into gods, but now it has to be the Mahayana stage. Lin Yiren had to shake his head when he saw this. He only had some magic weapons and props given by Lin Yiren. He was going to hit someone with his head. Aang saw this and said quickly, don't leave in a hurry, listen to me. After so long, his strength has not improved at all, but has regressed a lot, because the upper limit of cultivation in our world is here. Even if his cultivation system is advanced, it will end at this point. If you want to go further and reach the subsequent realm, you have to be a once-in-a-million-year genius. The evil god's own cultivation qualifications are not good. He got this level of transformation by relying on the convenience of the previous trading platform membership and used a lot of items from the trading platform. Now, his real combat power may not even be at the stage of transformation. It's much easier to understand with this. The guy in the world of cultivation who once touched the origin of the world can survive for millions of years with his endless lifespan and be invincible when he is born. That's because the upper limit of the immortal world itself is high enough. You can cultivate to the Mahayana stage or even ascend to heaven. The magic world obviously doesn't have this condition. No matter how long you live, you can't reach that level. To make the upper limit of the world high enough is a long-term transformation process, not a matter of hundreds of thousands of years, but the whole world must work together. After finding the right path to practice and gradually raise the upper limit of the world. The magic world hasn't even taken the first step, let alone the follow-up. Chapter 481. If it's just the power of the spiritualization stage. Suyi glanced at the sword in his hand and the pile of talismans and elixirs. He should still be able to fight. After all, according to Lin Yiren, just this sword alone can chop a Yuanying stage big man into pieces with a random wisp of sword energy, and killing a spiritualization stage is no problem at all. And the talismans refined by her, a return to void stage great man. He can fight, of course. That's all. He is hiding well in the origin of the world. As long as he doesn't come out, you can't do anything to him. It's useless to beat him. Suyi is still worried about the magic world. On the other side, or in other worlds that are unknown how far away. On the boundless sea of stars, Bailu, wearing a uniform representing a mid-level officer of the Interstellar Alliance military, sat in the captain's room of a transport ship, taking in the overall situation. Having completed the relevant training at the starport, she should now set sail back to her old nest, Kingland Star. Of course, before she left, she did something big. That is, she quietly took away a star destroyer that had been basically built and outfitted, and even conducted 6 sea trials, with only some internal facilities not yet fully installed. Before this, she didn't even dare to think about such a thing. After all, the Star Destroyer is not a low-tech thing like a transport ship. It is the real cutting-edge technology of the entire Interstellar Alliance. It is no exaggeration to say that a main gun on a Star Destroyer is much more expensive than the transport ship she is on now. The security between the two is certainly not at the same level. Before She was able to get the transport ship in danger, and she was almost caught. She barely succeeded by relying on the storage space provided by the trading platform point, and the reason for getting the Star Destroyer this time was mainly because of the practice book that Suyi gave her recently. She went to Suyi from time to time to discuss the matter of dual cultivation. Her strength has improved rapidly. She has reached the peak of key training. According to the standards of the magic world, she is now a 9th level warrior who practices both magic and martial arts, and is only one step away from becoming a demigod. With this kind of individual strength, fighting with others in the interstellar world is simply the level of beating primitive people. Relying on this strength and some small magical powers such as invisibility and stealth obtained from the exercises, she decided to do a big job before leaving. After completing her studies and officially becoming the captain of a transport ship, she drove the starship away from the starport. She drove an ultra small personal aircraft, put on the magical power of invisibility and stealth for herself and the aircraft, and returned to the starport quietly again, after avoiding all monitoring facilities, and sneaked into the most heavily guarded Star Destroyer manufacturing area. With the last case of a whole transport ship disappearing silently, the official Interstellar Alliance naturally strengthened its precautions. In the Star Destroyer manufacturing area alone, a rapid response force with extremely advanced equipment was stationed, with a total of 100,000 people. Although the per capita power armor is not as good as the special model for captains such as the Destiny class, it is many times more advanced than the equipment of Bailu's original near-Earth orbit airborne brigade. However, after possessing the magical power of the Zeuxan world, a technology that the people of the Interstellar Alliance cannot understand at all, Bailu still easily avoided all monitoring facilities and sneaked in. However, when she was about to stuff the Star Destroyer into the space of the trading platform, make a fortune and run away, she found that there were still people in this Star Destroyer, a semi-mechanical army with the number of 3,000 people. Nicknamed the Alliance Guard by outsiders, the so-called semi-mechanical is actually a human who replaces part of the human body tissue with machinery to gain more powerful power. The most extreme ones have even been transformed to the point that only the brain is left. This Alliance Guard can be said to be notorious. There are more or less shadows of them in the actions of the Interstellar Alliance to suppress opponents. Of course, these have nothing to do with Bailu. The main thing is that these people are now in the Star Destroyer, and she can't take this thing away. After sneaking in and taking a little peek, she discovered that the unit these people belonged to was the one that the Star Destroyer was about to deliver. They were also here to learn how to operate the Star Destroyer in advance, and to receive it. By the way, originally, they were supposed to be stationed at the starport, but because of the loss of the transport ship before, this unit temporarily changed its stationing location, and ran to the Star Destroyer to station. What to do? Bailu didn't want to kill people at this time. But now that she's here, she can't go back empty-handed, right? Oh, there are a few completed Star Domain firepower delivery ships next to them, and there's no one on them. But she came for the Star Destroyer, and she didn't know how long she had been secretly observing it. Could she like that broken thing? So after a few seconds of mental struggle, Bailu had no choice but to take out the 10,000 souls banner that Suyi gave her. She took all those half-human half-mechanical freaks into the 10,000 souls banner as brothers as expected. After collecting it, she immediately successfully loaded the Star Destroyer into the space of the trading platform. Before leaving, she also took away several completed Starfield firepower delivery ships nearby. Although this thing is not as good as the Star Destroyer to destroy the planet with one shot, it is also a real combat ship. It is different from the auxiliary transport ship. It can't destroy a planet with one shot, but it can physically plow the surface of a planet within 24 hours if this thing is placed on Blue Star. It is a pure arsenal ship. Its main feature is that, as long as a planet enters the range, it will pose no less threat to the planet than a Star Destroyer. It can directly destroy the continental shelf on your planet. Anyway, it's a convenient thing. Since she's here, she will take it all away. From Suyi, she got the inheritance jade slip and the advanced cultivation method. She has to return the favor, right? Their interstellar world is very poor, and this is the only local specialty they can show off. Okay, GTGQM01 transport ship. Please slow down. The voice on the radio channel immediately brought Bailu, who was looking at the starry sky, back to his senses. Captain, the one who issued the order is the 5th Fleet under the 16th Fleet of the Central Galaxy. It has been found that its fleet is behind us, about 600 million kilometers away from us. Should we slow down? The fleet of the Central Galaxy? The military? Bailu narrowed his eyes and opened the call channel with interest. Explain your purpose. The other party responded immediately. The starport is facing a star destroyer and 4 Starfield firepower delivery ships. This is a serious matter. Our department is under the order of the Alliance to conduct routine inspections. Heh. Bailu sneered. Since when did your military people take care of such things? You can search, but where is the search warrant? Chapter 482. The internal violence organs of the Interstellar Alliance can be roughly divided into 2 parts. One is the military, which focuses on external wars, for example, conquering planets and civilizations outside the Interstellar Alliance, and suppressing rebels against the Interstellar Alliance. The other is the Ministry of Internal Affairs, whose main duties are to handle the internal affairs of the Interstellar Alliance. For example, investigating giant companies, maintaining interstellar routes, and clearing out interstellar pirates, etc. If these 2 departments are to be compared, they are probably equivalent to the relationship between the army and the police, but their functions are not so clear. In fact, the powers between the military and the Ministry of Internal Affairs are partially overlapping. For example, suppressing rebels if a group of interstellar pirates appeared on a certain golden route, then this matter should be within the scope of the Ministry of Internal Affairs powers. However, there are clear provisions in the remarks of Article 19, Article 24, Article 72 of the Interstellar Alliance Act. Interstellar pirates are equivalent to rebels. Therefore, as long as the military takes out these laws, it can still participate in dealing with interstellar pirates under normal circumstances, when there is a conflict between the functions of the 2 departments. We usually see the classic buck passing. Interstellar pirates are rampant. The Ministry of Internal Affairs says that this matter is under the jurisdiction of the military, and the military says that this matter is under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Internal Affairs. In the end, neither side cares and the matter ends, but the actual situation is exactly the opposite. Although the marginal areas of the Interstellar Alliance are constantly at war, places like England's Tar are even Gotham in Gotham. But overall, the rule of the entire Interstellar Alliance is actually extremely stable, and the overall situation is also in a period of steady growth. And there is a military merit reward and punishment mechanism independent of the normal administrative system within the Interstellar Alliance. The speed of promotion through this mechanism is the fastest. In this way, military merit has become a hot commodity within the Interstellar Alliance. But in the general policy of the Interstellar Alliance to stop further expansion, it is not so easy to get military merit. So those rebels and interstellar pirates have become serious military merits, or it can be said to be a promotion ladder. The military and the Ministry of Internal Affairs also had conflicts in their functions. They were almost fighting for military merit. Once, the Ministry of Internal Affairs and the military even fought to eliminate a small pirate group with only 3,000 people and a civilian transport ship as the largest aircraft. In the end, the military lost a star destroyer and several fire delivery ships. The Ministry of Internal Affairs lost a star-class war carrier and a star destroyer. A small conflict between the 2 sides destroyed the place where the pirate was hiding, including the people and the star system. The sun in the star system was turned into a red giant by a star destroyer. Both sides suffered more than 100,000 casualties. This small friction directly shocked the entire Interstellar Alliance, triggered many public protests, and the Alliance Parliament also expressed dissatisfaction with it. Both sides probably knew that they had gone too far from that hand. The military and the Ministry of Internal Affairs reached some consensus without any documents in the event of a clear conflict of authority between the 2 parties. It does not matter who arrives first or later. Both parties mark their own territory. What happens in my territory is my responsibility, and what happens in your territory is your responsibility. As time goes by, this situation has gradually developed into the military and the Ministry of Internal Affairs managing everything according to their respective territories. For example, in the military's territory, once some giant companies have problems, the Ministry of Internal Affairs will not investigate these matters, and the military will investigate them all. And in the Ministry of Internal Affairs territory, all matters that should be handled by the military are handled by the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and the military cannot intervene at all. This tacit understanding between the two parties has been maintained for decades. Bailu does everything, so she is naturally knowledgeable and knows all the ins and outs. At the moment, she is in the Central Galaxy, which is actually the traditional territory of the Ministry of Internal Affairs. Although the fleet that came is the fleet of the Central Galaxy, it belongs to the military, and most of the time it will not even be stationed in the Central Galaxy. It is impossible for the military fleet to come to the Ministry of Internal Affairs to check people under normal circumstances. As for the so-called search warrant, it is even more impossible. If they want to search, they need a search warrant from the Ministry of Internal Affairs of the Central Galaxy. You are stealing someone's work on their territory, and you still want them to issue you a certificate. The Ministry of Internal Affairs is not a cuckold. How can it be humiliated like this? This is a special search warrant from the Supreme Military Command of the Alliance. I repeat, please slow down and accept the investigation. A man's hoarse voice came from the other end of the channel, and an electronic version of the so-called special search warrant followed. However, the details above made Bailu's eyes reveal some surprise. Because the reason for the search mentioned in this search warrant has nothing to do with any theft of starships or rebellion, but the military believes that someone in the Kingland Star Orbital Airborne Brigade under Bailu has private communication with the rebel organization, so they came to investigate. In other words, the military came to Bailu in the name of handling internal affairs. After all, the Kingland Star Orbital Airborne Brigade is theoretically a subordinate unit of the military. They can completely bypass the unwritten tacit understanding with the Ministry of Internal Affairs by handling internal affairs, even if the Ministry of Internal Affairs comes to investigate later. You can't say anything about the military handling its own affairs, right? Bailu thought for a moment, then waved his hand and ordered, turn off the main engine and idle, prepare for docking. The shipboard AI and the staff in the starship immediately got busy. Although it was an internal military matter, this was the central star system. Once the Ministry of Internal Affairs found out, they would definitely interfere and make things difficult for the military. But if they dared to do this, it meant that the Ministry of Internal Affairs would definitely not be able to take care of things here in a short time. Although she was also a military starship, she was just a transport ship after all, and was different from the serious combat ship behind her. First of all, the speed was far different. Although there were tens of millions of kilometers between them, this distance was nothing on the scale of the universe. If they really wanted to run, they would catch up in minutes. Secondly, the shipboard shields and weapons were even more different. Not to mention that they did have a formal search warrant. This kind of military search warrant could be ignored by other companies or the Ministry of Internal Affairs starships, but she, as a member of the military sequence, could not ignore it. Otherwise, she would be labeled a rebel in minutes. Kingland Star is so small that it can't withstand a Star Destroyer cannon. Let alone Kingland Star. If you run away when you are being targeted, you may be shot down immediately. There is no point in running. It's better to stop and see what the military means by risking a falling out with the Ministry of Internal Affairs to do such a thing in the Central Galaxy. Of course, she has roughly guessed the other party's purpose. Chapter 483. The huge transport ship slowly glides in space. Behind them, a fleet consisting of a Starfield firepower projection ship and two star cruisers slowly appeared and slowed down to follow the transport ship about 100,000 kilometers behind. Among the three starships, even the star cruiser, known as the smallest battleship in the Alliance military sequence, is more than 10 times the size of this basic transport ship. That Starfield firepower projection ship is a behemoth of hundreds of millions of tons. The length alone reaches more than 12,000 meters. The maximum width is 3,000 meters, and the height difference reaches 1,600 meters. The overall shape is flat and shuttle shaped, and the streamlined hull is very beautiful point in comparison. The transport ship Bailu seems a bit small point. This is also said to be impossible. The transport ship is not a supply ship. It is essentially similar to the Blue Star amphibious assault ship. Its main purpose is to transport personnel and some equipment to the planet's low Earth orbit and deliver it to the surface point. The rest of the stuff is basically irrelevant point, and what needs to be delivered by transport ships are personnel, fighters and small armored units. Large armored units usually have the ability to move forward in the starry sky on their own without the need for transport ships to pull them point. In addition, her transport ship itself is also the most basic style among transport ships. The size and equipment are naturally incomparable to these ships in serious battle order. After both ships enter constant speed cruising and complete docking preparations in the huge Starfire delivery ship at the rear, the hatch was quickly opened and an extremely fast aircraft was released point. In less than a minute, the aircraft crossed a space of more than 100,000 kilometers and directly entered the belly hangar of the transport ship point. A moment later, a group of elite soldiers wearing the Alliance's latest generation of military power armor followed a young man in formal attire into White Deer's captain's room point. The two just looked at each other, and a look of sure enough flashed in Bailu's eyes, and the man also smiled and said, "Classmate Bay, what a coincidence, we meet again." "Is it a coincidence?" Bailu said non-committally. "Go and search what you want to search for. I have other arrangements on Kingland planet, so I have to get back quickly." "Haha, don't worry, Mr. Bay," the man said with a smile. "Originally, it should be searched according to the usual practice, but since this captain is you, there is no need to search. Classmate Bay is dedicated to working for the Alliance and is loyal. How could he be a rebel who stole the starship? Aren't you going to search? Then I'm leaving. Don't be anxious. Don't be anxious," the man said calmly. "It's okay not to search the classmates, but since we have gone through the process before, the subsequent search procedures will always have to be a show off. It's better to wait where you are for a while. Our classmates can just catch up on old times." Classmate Yang has just graduated and worked in the 16th Fleet of the Central Galaxy directly under the military department, and also served as the captain of the squadron. His future is limitless. What's the point of reminiscing about old times like me, a bastard from the fringe starfield? Besides, we didn't have any friendship before, right? This guy's name is Yang Luxing, and he is also a well-known second-generation ancestor in Xingang Academy. It is said that he is a direct descendant of a certain big shot in the military, and his family is inextricably linked to a certain giant company point. While Bailu was talking, he looked at the computer playing games in front of him boredly, not seeming too concerned about its arrival. "Haha, it just depends on family arrangements. Unlike you, classmate Bay, you will rely on your own ability." The man didn't care about her attitude and said calmly, "And we are not without friendship. If it hadn't been for those inheritance jade slips you provided, classmate Bay, I probably wouldn't have finished my studies so quickly and joined the military. Speaking of which, I should be thanking you." The picture shows the poor dagger. Bailu sneered. "Thank you with your mouth, Yang." Luxing still showed no signs of embarrassment and said calmly, "Of course not. In fact, I have prepared a big gift for you, classmate." "Bailu, you probably know what I want. We might as well open the skylight and speak openly. I actually come here with great sincerity this time. Sincerity means leading the fleet to intercept it halfway. These are just some necessary means. You should know better than me what the value of the things you took out is. If you really want to return to a chaotic area like King Muxiang and the Liuli Galaxy, I'm afraid there will be a lot of trouble." Yang Luxing said lightly, "Not only will it be in big trouble for us, but you will be in big trouble too. You have been a military commander in that kind of place for a long time, so you should know better than me." Of course Bailu knew how chaotic it was over their point. If she were on Kingland planet now, she would probably have packed these 3 warships into the space of the trading platform point. "Can you still let this guy show off with his nostrils turned up in front of you? In the final analysis, you just want to inherit the jade slips. Why don't you tell me what the conditions are?" Bay Lu said impatiently. "Give me the manufacturing technology of the inherited jade slips, and I will allow you to become one of the young ladies of our Yang family, and From now on, 1% of the benefits brought by inheriting the jade slips will belong to you forever. With this level of status, you no longer have to be a commander of cannon fodder troops on resource planets in edge galaxies. You can immediately become a squadron commander of an elite fleet like me. If you do well in the future, it is possible to become the commander-in-chief of a fleet in the Empire. You are not a novice who doesn't understand anything. You should know more about this than I do. If you don't rely on a big family, you will most likely just hang around in a remote starfield in your life. Now you have become a captain of a small transport ship. Commander is already at his limit, and it is impossible to go any further. Yang Luxing talked eloquently, as if this was a gift to Bailu. After finishing speaking, he did not forget to add, "Isn't this the purpose of bringing out the inheritance jade slips in the Starport Military Academy? I can completely satisfy you." In his opinion, it is absolutely impossible for a small orbital airborne brigade commander and transport ship captain with no background to defend something like the jade slip. Bailu took out this kind of thing just waiting to sell it at a price point, and the price I offered was already quite generous. As long as Bailu agrees, he can immediately jump from the stinky Qiu Bay in the Edge Galaxy to the real noble of the Interstellar Alliance. This is a class jump that most ordinary people would never dare to imagine in 10 lifetimes. It is completely worthy of the value of the inheritance jade slip given by Bailu. After all, although this thing is powerful, without the support of such a huge family and giant companies behind him, it is impossible to realize it. If the technology cannot be monetized, no matter how awesome it is, it has no meaning to the individual. What he is doing now is to help Bailu benefit personally by inheriting the jade slips. Yang Luxing didn't even know Bailu's reason for refusing. Chapter 484. Although this guy's words were not very pleasant to hear, his condescending attitude, as if he was giving alms, was even more disgusting. But even Bailu had to admit that the conditions he offered were indeed very generous. Although he himself was only the captain of a squadron under a fleet in the central starfield of the military, the family power behind him was definitely the top wealthy family in the Interstellar Alliance. To be able to join such a wealthy family and become one of the young ladies, let alone the commander of a cannon fodder unit like her, who was a scrap. Even for the fleet commander who had thousands of various starships in the Alliance's regular battle sequence, this was an irresistible temptation. So it's not that he was whimsical. It's just that his attitude was a little embarrassing. But Bailu shook his head. "I have espoused." Yang Luxing was stunned for a moment. He really didn't expect this, mainly because he had investigated Bailu's information before coming here, and the information showed that she should have no spouse and no love experience. In addition, Bailu is really beautiful, far better than his other political married spouses. He was a little tempted, so he proposed this condition. Otherwise, according to the wishes of the family elders, it would be enough to give her a position as an encore fleet commander as a political exchange, and then give her a part of the proceeds of the inheritance jade slip. There is no need to marry such a person of unknown origin to the family, to add unnecessary trouble. After all, although the Yang family is a big family in the Interstellar Alliance, there are many political enemies inside. If there is any stain on a family member, it will definitely be seized by the political enemies and magnified. And Bailu, after they investigated it in depth, they found that this woman was simply full of stains, and there was no white. She was so bold that it was outrageous. She was burning, killing, looting, and committing all kinds of evil in those marginal galaxies. Even more outrageous than the fucking interstellar pirates, she even dared to kill and rob the special envoy sent by the central starfield of the Alliance to patrol Kinglin Star, and then put the blame on the interstellar pirates. The younger generation of a certain member of the Interstellar Alliance was kidnapped by this guy on Kinglin Star. After receiving a large amount of ransom, he was sold to a brothel. When he was rescued, he was completely disabled. That is to say, the member of the syndicate did not have as much power as their Yang family in the military, and even had a very bad relationship with the military, so they could not find out who did it. Otherwise they would have arrested and tried the person long ago. Although Bailu did these things very well, and did not leave any evidence, these were all speculations of the Yang family plus the results of supercomputer calculations, but many times, many things do not need evidence. Just suspicion is enough. Before, Belu was a small figure in a marginal galaxy, so no one investigated her, so she could get away with it. But if she really married into a wealthy family like the Yang family, what she had done would inevitably be investigated by the Yang family's political enemies at that time. The Yang family would be very passive. So Yang Luxing's family rejected his proposal at first. Under his repeated insistence, coupled with Belu's talents in all aspects, she was indeed very top-notch and her appearance was extremely amazing. Some people in the Yang family thought that Belu's genes were extremely high quality. This made the family agree. As a result, he spent so much effort and finally convinced the family. He was ready to get the beauty and at the same time obtain the inheritance jade slip, which was a heaven-defying technology, and naturally become the heir of the next generation of the family. Now this beauty told him that she had a man. For some reason, Yang Luxing felt a little green on his head. The calmness he had always maintained was almost broken, but fortunately, he was born in a big family after all, and not showing his emotions was a skill he had cultivated since childhood, so he could barely hold it back. After a moment of hesitation, he looked at Belu deeply and continued to say softly, "It's okay. I don't care," but in his heart, he had already prepared the ending for Belu. Get the inheritance jade slip technology, then take it home to play, and throw it away. After playing. A slut is not qualified to be the wife of his Yang family heir. Just when Yang Luxing was still young, how Belu would regret, and begged him not to abandon her in the future. Belu's somewhat helpless voice sounded in the captain's room. "Did you make a mistake? It's fine if you want to take the inheritance jade slip, but you want to take it from me. I think you want to die." She actually had a psychological expectation for such a big family to come and snatch the inheritance jade slip, and was prepared to pretend to be nice to them. At the same time, if it was really hard to talk, she would kill them and throw them into the incinerator and scatter their ashes into the starry sky. As a result, this bastard actually set his sights on her. He even ate and took her away. You never dreamed of doing this, right? Yang Luxing was stunned for a moment. He also didn't expect that Belu would dare to talk to him like this after reacting. He immediately said with a gloomy face, "What do you mean, literally?" Belu shrugged, "Since you don't plan to talk properly, then die here." She is the captain, and all the monitoring equipment in the captain's room has been turned off long ago. No one outside will know what happened here. As if sensing the killing intent from Belu, Yang Luxing took a few steps back, but he did not say anything out of fear. "It seems that Belu is not willing to accept my offer. Then I can only ask you to go back with me to the military prison in the central galaxy and have a good talk." As he spoke, his scarlet armor spread out from his wrist and covered his whole body in an instant. Destiny level power armor. All the captains of the Alliance's starships were equipped with a set, so naturally he would have won. And his set of armor was much stronger than the one issued to Belu and the one in Suyi's transport ship. After putting it on, Belu felt that he had at least reached the level of a 9th level warrior in the magic martial arts system. At the same time, the soldiers who followed Yang Luxing in wearing ordinary power armor also took the initiative to take off the standard ordinary armor outside, and there was also a set of destiny level power armor inside. Knowing that Belu was the captain of the starship and had a set of standard destiny level power armor, they were obviously well prepared. "You scumbags dare to come here to catch me?" Belu smiled. She stretched out her hand, and the destiny level power armor turned into a scarlet ball in her palm. Under the gaze of several people, she threw it aside. Just when Yang Luxing and the others were puzzled, the white deer behind the captain's table suddenly disappeared. When it reappeared, it had come to a soldier wearing power armor before the other party could react. The white deer's slender fingers had already clasped the shoulders of the power armor tier. The man didn't even have time to scream, and the man and the power armor were torn in half in an instant. Chapter 485. Blood instantly spurted everywhere in the captain's room, and all kinds of internal organs and human tissues immediately flowed all over the floor following the splattering. There were also a large number of delicate small parts. These were all scattered from the mechanically modified parts of this person. As the young master of the top family of the Interstellar Alliance, Yang Luxing's guards were certainly not ordinary soldiers. but were carefully selected to ensure 100% loyalty. Then they had to undergo multiple reinforcement and undergo large-scale human body modifications. Even if we don't consider this Destiny level power armor that embodies the most advanced technology of the current interstellar alliance, the strength of this mechanically modified body alone is very powerful. However, this strength is also relative, and it is probably equivalent to a 4th or 5th level warrior in the magic world. With only the power after the modification. In the super large scale war in the magic world, I'm afraid it won't even be qualified to be a cannon fodder. After wearing this special Destiny level power armor, the real combat power may be able to compete with the 8th level warriors in the magic world. If you encounter a 9th level warrior, it's not a question of whether you can beat him, but you should have no problem saving your life. Of course, it can only fight with warriors. This thing has almost no magic resistance. If it encounters a magician, if there is no defense, even a 4th or 5th level ordinary magician can kill him in seconds with one magic point. If it encounters an extremely rare spiritual magician, even if it is only 2nd or 3rd level, these high-tech modified cyborgs can't withstand a soul attack point. But that is compared with the metaphysical world that advocates personal power if placed in the interstellar world. The combat power of these people is really at the zenith level point. As long as you sneak into the interior of the starship, it is not impossible for a single person to seize the starship. And now, such a powerful existence has no power to resist in front of Bailu, and she used brute force to tear both the man and the machine into two halves. What kind of monster are you, Yang? Luxing's voice was trembling. Obviously, he was frightened by this move. Monster? In comparison, you disgusting mechanical cyborgs are the real monsters, right, Bei? Lu ignored the blood on her body and said calmly, I knew this day would come. I didn't want to turn against you so quickly, but since you are so reckless and have set your sights on me, I can only blame your bad luck. As soon as she finished speaking, her figure disappeared again. When she reappeared, Bailu came to another guard. A simple punch was thrown. A big hole was instantly punched in the tightly covered power armor, but the situation that this guy was punched through or directly knocked away did not happen. On the contrary, a loud clang sound came from the place where the fist touched the body. Although the penalty level power armor was pierced that day, what was taken out was not flesh and blood, but the metal body of the mechanical cyborg. After being transformed. The torso of the front one at least still had some organs at present. This guy seems to have no normal part except for his exposed face. His whole body has been transformed by machines. This is why Bailu didn't kill this guy. Even though he punched through the power armor, his body is just a piece of iron. If you don't hit the vital part, he won't die. At most, he will be asked to go back to repair and maintain the mechanical torso for a while. Bailu saw this. There was some surprise in her eyes, but more of it was disgust. She knocked him down casually and stepped on his head without hesitation. The nano armor of the Destiny level power armor immediately covered the whole head of the man. Bailu's kick was so powerful that he crushed the man in the armor almost in an instant. Half of the 4 guards brought by Yang Luxing died directly. His eyes were red and his head was almost crazy. These were all assigned to him by the family. If nothing unexpected happens, they will be his most loyal and powerful guards in the future. It is one of the guarantees of his personal safety. Normally, even the direct descendants of his Yang family could not be equipped with several such powerful guards, because it was too difficult to train them. Now that so many have been lost, even if he has a say in the family, it will take a long time to replenish them. How can he not feel pain? In addition to the pain, there is another fear from the bottom of his heart. He saw clearly that Bailu was not wearing any power armor, and his whole body was only a set of standard Interstellar Alliance captain uniform. He tore the power armor with his own strength, and it was the most advanced individual weapon of the Interstellar Alliance, the Destiny level power armor. This was completely beyond the cognition of him. A native of the Interstellar Alliance. He seemed to have remembered something, and hurriedly shouted, Dawn Alliance. You mixed up with those psychic lunatics in the Dawn Alliance. No, 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 no. The Dawn Alliance simply cannot master this level of psychic technology. You can't be one of them. Otherwise there would be no Interstellar Alliance now, and the central galaxy would have been flattened by these lunatics long ago. Without Waiting for Bailu to respond, Yang Luxing himself denied this speculation. Of course, most people still couldn't believe it. He is also well informed. Although the Interstellar Alliance has repeatedly prohibited research on psychic energy and claimed that it is extremely evil and has great harm to the human body. But as a person from a big family, he knows very well that, although the official ban is open, the research on the magical power of psychic energy has never been given up in private. The official has a lot of secret research institutes working on these things. Even the most advanced Destiny level power armor of the Alliance currently has the shadow of psychic technology, but psychic energy only plays a small role in it. The Dawn Alliance has a more in-depth study of these things. Apart from anything else, the psychic drugs that can prolong people's lifespan developed based on psychic technology are enough to be favored by many big families in the Interstellar Alliance. After all, no one is willing to mechanize their bodies to get a longer lifespan unless it is absolutely necessary. So Yang Luxing did not just hear about the psychic root of the Dawn Alliance, but actually saw it with his own eyes and had a certain understanding. He even used some related drugs. He knew very well that the psychic technology root of the Dawn Alliance would never allow people to possess such terrifying power. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 486. As a wanted organization of the Interstellar Alliance. But it is still doing well in secret, and even has a large number of supporters, which can easily obtain a large number of cutting-edge technological products of the Interstellar Alliance, even things like Star Destroyers. The Dawn Alliance is naturally not that simple. If they really fight head-on, their strength is indeed not as good as the huge Interstellar Alliance. Even if they are tied together, they are not enough to fight against the standing army of a starfield of the Interstellar Alliance. But in the circle of the powerful, the Dawn Alliance is not an unknown person. Their main research direction is spiritual power. Although compared with Suyi and Bailu, who have the method of cultivating immortals, and even compared with the magic world, their research on spiritual power is quite superficial. But after all, they have studied out some things. After combining with existing technology, they can mass produce some drugs that can increase people's lifespan. There are also special drugs that can make people gain huge power in a short period of time. Drugs that make people stay young, etc. These things are all hotcakes. It's fine to verbally oppose this gang of traitors, but these good things should be used. Many high-ranking dignitaries of the Interstellar Alliance have dealings with the Dawn Alliance, and even have very close relations with them. If not, the Dawn Alliance would have been kicked to death by the Interstellar Alliance, labeling it a pirate. How could it have developed more and more prosperously in the marginal starfield, and even become a heartache of the Interstellar Alliance to a certain extent? It is precisely because of the existence of such an organization that psychic energy is not a particularly rare thing in this world. The reason why the Dawn Alliance is weak is that the psychic technology they have developed is not worth mentioning compared with the technology of the Interstellar Alliance. It only has some small advantages that can attract those dignitaries, so they can get away with it. Even in the eyes of the vast majority of dignitaries who enjoy the benefits of these psychic technologies, these things that the Dawn Alliance has tinkered with only have these effects. It is impossible to achieve great things. What psychic technology can enhance physical fitness is indeed very useful for individuals, but it is useless in the confrontation between two superpowers. In the eyes of these people, no matter how much you use your psychic power, a single person can't deal with those soldiers wearing power armor, not to mention the Star Destroyer that can destroy a planet with one shot. It's not at the same level at all. Yang Luxing had the same idea before. Until this time, Bailu tore the 4 top guards he brought one by one in front of him. It was the kind that tore the people and the power armor together. This is a bit too scary. It's completely beyond his cognition. In the messy captain's room, Bailu stood calmly with blood all over his body, while Yang Luxing had collapsed to the ground in fear. The sweeping robot was busy cleaning the bloodstains and various human tissues and mechanical fragments on the ground. What do you want? Seeing Bailu's eyes. Yang Luxing swallowed his saliva and said tremblingly point. If he could still feel bad for losing a few elite guards just now, then now he is completely scared and all he can think about is how to get out of here alive today. I say, you do it. Bailu said lightly. Okay, I will do it. I will do it. Contact you to manage this squadron. Order everyone on it to get on the landing craft to my transport ship and wait in the dock after entering. As he spoke, Bailu casually clicked twice on the holographic screen in front of him, and the call page projection connected to the other party's fleet channel suddenly appeared in front of Yang Luxing. He paused, looked at the connection button in front of him, and hesitated for a moment. After all, as the commander of the fleet, although his guards died, he still had 3 starships following him. As long as he gave an order, the huge Starfield firepower delivery ship could immediately beat the small transport ship into a sieve. As for himself, because he was in the transport ship, he would naturally be directly vaporized and become part of the cosmic dust. He was not stupid. How could he not know that Bailu asked him to gather people to get the 3 starships? As the commander of the fleet, he was actually obliged to preserve the ships, which were all the property of the Interstellar Alliance. Even if he really couldn't keep them, he had to issue a self-destruction order, and he couldn't let the starship be captured, even if he exploded with the enemy. But these regulations, beliefs, etc., are ultimately no match for 2 words: afraid of death. Yang Luxing was very afraid of death. He was born in a big family and had a bright future. Even if he played around, he could still be rich and prosperous for a lifetime. How could he bear to die with the enemy for a few broken ships now? After a moment of silence, Yang Luxing still took a deep breath and chose to cooperate with Bailu. He gave orders to all the crew members on the 3 starships, asking them to come to the transport ship quickly. He had something important to announce. In order to prevent being seen, Yang Luxing even calmed down his emotions when he opened the channel call and tried to play this order in his usual tone. To prevent Wu from mistaking him for some trick, he was chopped off first. About 10 minutes after the order was issued, landing craft was seen being released from the 3 starships one after another, and then quickly approached the White Deer transport ship. In fact, if this order was not so absurd, and those people on the starship did not believe it at first, it would probably take less than 10 minutes, and a large number of landing craft would be released immediately. Fortunately, with the cooperation of Yang Luxing, he finally persuaded them with reason and emotion. Although the captains of each starship were still a little confused, they decided to execute this absurd order issued by Yang Luxing. In less than half an hour, a total of more than 100,000 people in the 3 starships entered the dock of the transport ship. As the dock slowly closed, these people gradually walked down from their respective vehicles. Soon, they spontaneously formed teams in the dock of the transport ship, and the entire dock seemed very crowded for a while. At this time, Bailu also took Yang Luxing to a high platform inside the transport ship, where he could have a panoramic view of the situation in all the docks. Since your people have arrived, and my people have also arrived on several ships on your side, please transfer the highest permission. Bailu said lightly. Obtaining or robbing official starships through abnormal channels is a serious crime, and the Alliance will definitely target you. Yang Luxing tried to struggle. If he really did this, even if he could get out alive today, the Alliance would not let him go, and no identity would be very useful. Chapter 487. Accompanied by a shrill scream, one of Yang Luxing's arms slowly drooped down, and the arm was visibly twisted into a knot. I said, I don't like nonsense. It's just a matter of one word, whether to give it or not. Hurry up. Bailu pulled him up again without a sound, but came to the other side of his body. Obviously, if he couldn't get what he wanted, Yang Luxing's other hand would be ready to give up. Give it. I'll give it. Yang Luxing was obviously not a tough guy. The severe pain almost made him lose his mind, and Bailu's terrifying power from an unknown source made him fall into panic. Most people are afraid of the unknown. Yang Luxing is in almost the same situation now. He used to think that Bailu was beautiful and took her into his harem. But now he dare not even think about it. But a man who knows the times is a hero. After receiving the news from his subordinates that they had completely taken over the control of the 3 starships and modified the underlying code of the starships to a certain extent to ensure that these starships had been completed and became their own, Belu smiled and said, "Tell me, how do you plan to die, since this guy dared to speak rudely to her? No, since this guy brought the fleet to run over and catch up with the ship she was on and asked her to slow down and accept that bullshit investigation. Belu had no intention of letting him go back alive. She had killed many people, so she didn't need such a second generation ancestor who was full of evil. And she had actually expected this situation a long time ago. Money can move people's hearts. And the inheritance jade slips will inevitably become a hot commodity in the interstellar world in the future, with terrible market potential. When she was in Star Harbor College, she had promoted these inheritance jade slips more than once. If this didn't happen now, she would have suspected that these descendants of the powerful in the Interstellar Alliance were brainless. Why didn't they come to rob? To some extent, she was actually stinging the law. Death. No, 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 you can't kill me, Yang Luxing said quickly. I'm the direct descendant of the Yang family. All the starships of the Interstellar Alliance military are communicating with the headquarters in real time. Even if you have obtained the highest permission for the starship, the information sent before cannot be taken back. This matter cannot be concealed. Listen to me. Killing me here will not do you any good. It's just a few starships. You can take them if you want. After that, you will defect to the Dawn, and the Interstellar Alliance will have no way to deal with you. But if you kill me, the nature of this matter will be completely different. The Dawn Alliance will never offend the Yang family behind me for you. By then, there will be no place for you in the entire Star Sea. Why bother? At the critical moment of life and death, he calmed down instead, no longer begging for mercy, but quickly explained the pros and cons to Belu. Speaking of the disadvantages of killing him here. At the end, he did not forget to add, if you are willing to let me go, I promise that I will never pursue this matter later, and I will help you solve the problem with the Alliance military. Maybe you can continue to stay in the territory of the Interstellar Alliance in the future. Lu raised his eyebrows when he heard this. To a certain extent, what this guy said actually makes sense. The dealings between the Interstellar Alliance and the Dawn Alliance are not open to the public, but they do exist. No matter what, the Interstellar Alliance will never really destroy the Dawn Alliance. As long as Yang Luxing, a descendant of a large family in the Interstellar Alliance, is not touched, and she runs to the Dawn Alliance. Not to mention the technology of the inherited Jade Slip, just based on the starships she has obtained, the people on the Dawn Alliance will definitely protect her. They have even dealt with the Interstellar Alliance's star destroyers, and the Interstellar Alliance is just talking nonsense, and has never really sent a large army to encircle and suppress them. In this way, under the protection of the Dawn Alliance, she can quickly develop between the two major forces. Of course, this is without mentioning the inheritance Jade Slip. If this thing is included, the account cannot be settled in this way. It is not only the Yang family behind Yang Luxing who will be tempted by the inheritance Jade Slip, and it is not only the Interstellar Alliance. The Dawn Alliance will also be tempted. And if they really discover some of the mysteries in the inheritance Jade Slip, I'm afraid that these people will be more crazy than the Interstellar Alliance to get the production technology of the inheritance Jade Slip. After all, this thing is strictly speaking a truly advanced way of using psychic energy. It is much more awesome than those broken things that the Dawn Alliance has studied. A person who seems to be powerless in the eyes of others is walking on the road with a huge fortune. Being targeted and then robbed is the basic logic of this world. What kind of benevolence and morality? It sounds good, but in essence it is just not enough benefits. So, if she wants to use the inheritance Jade Slip in this world to get what she wants, almost no one can cooperate. She knew this when she got the inheritance Jade Slip from Suyi. But she originally didn't intend to take out the inheritance Jade Slip so radically. Because at that time she really didn't have the power to keep such a special item. But now it's different. After Suyi gave her the Wanan banner and a bunch of various talismans, elixirs and magic weapons, she truly had the confidence to stand firm in this world and make no one dare to steal her things. This is also the reason for the current situation. So essentially, everything that has happened so far is within her expectations. Captain, all the staff of this ship have left the lower dock, and all the cleaning equipment of this ship is in place in the lower dock. The reminder of the shipborne AI sounded in Beilu's ears. She did not continue to listen to Yang Luxing's self-righteous nonsense point. She directly waved her hand to interrupt it, and then said indifferently under Yang Luxing's doubtful eyes, "Let me go. I think you should consider whether I'll let you go. If the Yang family knows that this incident has never happened, I will let it go, and I will not bother to care about them. If you really don't know what's good for you, you will be able to charge to another place soon." As he spoke, the purple banner appeared silently behind Beilu Point. The next moment, in the cabin of the starship, the purple banner suddenly grew larger, instantly covering everything within sight. Yang Luxing only felt the purple light flashing in front of him, and a large amount of disturbing darkness rolled out of the banner. Then there were screams of fear from below, as if something terrible had happened. But this scream and chaos only lasted for a moment. Almost in an instant, it returned to calm. When he could see the situation in the dock below again, he was stunned. 3 starships, hundreds of thousands of staff and combatants, all lying quietly on the floor of the dock. At a glance, the huge dock was covered with a thick layer. Chapter 488. What did you do to them, Yang Luxing said tremblingly. In this interstellar age, a trivial friction in the Interstellar Alliance can easily destroy one or even several planets, causing billions or even tens of billions of casualties. However, this casualty is the result of countless super weapons for commanders and even the vast majority of soldiers. It is just a matter of staying in the captain's room and pressing the launch button of the Star Destroyer cannon, and staying in a temporary bunker on the battlefield to control the drone. Even after destroying the other party, you may not even know what the other party's body looks like, because there is a high probability that the other party's bones are gone. Yang Luxing, a second-generation man who became a high-ranking military commander of the Interstellar Alliance as soon as he graduated, would not hesitate at all if he was asked to command a Star Destroyer to fire on a planet with a population of billions during wartime. But if he were asked to personally order his subordinates to massacre tens of thousands of people on the ground battlefield, he would never be able to do so. This has nothing to do with kindness or not, but is the result of human instinct to hurt others after seeing the corpses of the same kind. Killing without blood, allowing senior commanders who have the authority to use super weapons to have as little contact with the cruelest front lines of the battlefield as possible, is the thinking of the Star Alliance military. As a result, Yang Luxing saw that the dock was full of corpses and his hind legs were weak and unable to stand up. This is also the current situation among the top military leaders of the Interstellar Alliance. When using advanced weapons, these casualties are just a cold number. Once such large-scale killings appeared in front of their eyes, they were completely unable to talk and laugh. "Of course I'll kill him," Beilu sneered. "Is it possible to keep it for them?" As she spoke, she pulled out an electromagnetic pistol and pointed it at Yang Luxing's head. "Your subordinates are all dead, and the starship belongs to me now. According to the Alliance's practice, as the fleet commander, you should die in the line of duty, right? Do you need my help?" He was about to die. Yang Luxing suddenly had no time to feel sad about spring and autumn, so he quickly cheered up and said, "No, no, no, you can't kill me. I'm the heir of the Yang family. Yes, I still have value. I can ask the family to give you a large ransom, a ransom so rich that you can't imagine it, as long as you are willing to let me go, let alone these 3 starships. Even if you want a Star Destroyer, the Yang family can take it out." "Star Destroyer? The Yang family is willing to pay such a high price for a waste like you? And as far as I know, you are a direct descendant of the Yang family. There are many direct descendants like you. When did you become the heir? Don't frame me," Beilu said with a half smile, and opened the safety on the gun. "Yes, I will certainly do it," Yang Luxing said quickly. "I'm really the heir of the family. The other people of my generation are either collateral descendants or the children of my father and his concubine. My nominal brother and brother are actually cover for external claims. That's it. They are all selected from the descendants of our Yang family's dead soldiers to block the sight of the outside world, and I'm the only direct descendant of our family. Even if the Yang family doesn't save me, my mother's family will save me." You must have heard of the Dong family in the military department, right, Bay? Lou raised his eyebrows, but he didn't expect that these big families would have so much extravagant work. Of course, the Bailu of the Dong family of the military department he was talking about new. Unlike the Yang family, which spans military, government and business, the Dong family is a purely interstellar alliance military family. There are a total of 12 star domains under the jurisdiction of the Star Alliance. The central starfield is naturally the most prosperous and the most powerful starfield. The remaining starfields are basically ranked accordingly according to their overall strength. The second ranked starfield is called Chengguang Starfield. It is the second largest starfield in 10,000 years. Both economically and militarily, it is outnumbered by the central starfield. But if you don't count the central starfield, then the Chengguang Starfield is undoubtedly the most powerful area in the entire Interstellar Alliance. If Chengguang Star Territory was crushed in strength compared with the Central Star Territory, then the Yinhu Star Territory, which was third in Chengguang Star Territory, was also crushed. Not on the same level at all. To put it simply, the first is far greater than the second is far greater than the third, and then there is no particularly obvious gap from third to 12th. The top commander of the Chengguang Star Command, the second oldest person in 10,000 years, has been named Dong for hundreds of years. It is no exaggeration to say that the Dong family controls the second most powerful fleet group in the entire Interstellar Alliance. Of course, there is a fleet group more powerful than the Chengguang Star Territory fleet group, and that is the Central Star Territory. But in the Central Star region, there will never be a situation where one family dominates the military like the Chengguang Star region. Therefore, it is no exaggeration to say that the Dong family is the largest military family in the Interstellar Alliance. With this background, Yang Luxing might not be bragging when he said that his family could trade a Star Destroyer for him. In that case, it's not impossible to let you go. Bailu paused and then operated on the projection screen in front of him. A list suddenly appeared on the holographic projection in front of Yang Luxing. There's no need for the Star Destroyer. Just get me everything on the list and you can leave. Yang Luxing looked at the list carefully, but his expression quickly became strange. It's not that these things are precious, it's mainly that in his opinion, these things are not worth as much as a Star Destroyer, or even as much as a hair of a Star Destroyer. For a moment, I was a little surprised that Bailu was so easy to talk to. For example, the full set of space elevator technology, the full set of the first 3 generations of field computer technology, the current 7 generations of nuclear fusion technology of the Interstellar Alliance, and the latest commercial AI, military AI, and scientific research AI, each with 100 units in terms of value. The real valuable of these things is actually the 300 AIs. The field computer technology is also worth some money, but this thing has appeared in the Interstellar Alliance for hundreds of years, and has now been upgraded to the 5th generation. The real valuable thing is also the 5th generation, and the value of the first 3 generations is already very ordinary. The 7th generation of nuclear fusion is the latest technology of the Interstellar Alliance, but this thing is actually not worth much, because this so-called latest is also a technology from nearly 300 years ago. For 300 years, the nuclear fusion of the Interstellar Alliance has not been upgraded again. This does not mean that the scientific research of the Interstellar Alliance has started, but that they are studying newer and more efficient energy technologies. Nuclear fusion has become a relatively backward technology and is naturally not taken seriously. Of course, in theory, the technical documents required in Bailu's list are confidential in the Interstellar Alliance. But the confidentiality level is not that high at all. It is just that the middle and lower levels cannot be lifted. It is too easy for the Yang family to get it. Chapter 489. The hardest thing to get here is 100 of each of the 3 types of AI. These are the things that are really valuable. Among the 3 types of AI, the cheapest is the commercial AI, which costs hundreds of millions of Alliance coins. The most expensive scientific research AI can even reach more than 2 billion Alliance coins, and to get 300 of these AIs at the same time, It may not even be a matter of money, but whether the manufacturer has the goods. If the Yang family wants to agree to Bailu's conditions, to get these things to save him, the only thing that needs to be done with the family's energy is probably to collect these AIs. The rest can be solved in one sentence. For 300 AIs of various types, the Yang family will probably have to pay hundreds of billions of alliance coins, but the price of a Star Destroyer is not something that can be measured by currency point. If you have to quantify the price of a Star Destroyer, then this thing must be worth at least hundreds of trillions. Don't think that hundreds of trillions mean that the currency of the Interstellar Alliance has no purchasing power. In fact, it is not point. If used to buy basic supplies, $1 of the Interstellar Alliance can buy enough food for a day and still have some left over. The entire Interstellar Alliance has a population of trillions, and most of them only earn a few thousand Alliance coins for a month's work. It's just that the cost of a Star Destroyer is too expensive. It can be said to be a collection of all the cutting-edge technologies of the Interstellar Alliance. Therefore, when the value of a Star Destroyer is measured with Alliance coins, it makes Alliance coins look like hell money, which is worth hundreds of trillions. In fact, this thing not only has strong purchasing power, but is also extremely strong. It will even become more and more valuable as the Interstellar Alliance expands and expands. So, in Yang Luxing's view, Bailu didn't want a Star Destroyer, but wanted these technologies that were not worth even a fraction of a Star Destroyer and those broken AIs, which surprised him a little. You sure you want these things? If you think it's too little, then take a few more interstellar firepower delivery ships, Bailu said lightly. Unexpectedly, Yang Luxing was relieved after hearing this and nodded repeatedly. Okay, then add 5 more of the latest Starfield firepower delivery ships. Bailu asked for too little, and he was afraid that the other party would kill him. On the contrary, he felt more at ease if he asked for more. Seeing this, Bailu was too lazy to say more to him, and casually made a sealant hit his head. This thing is temporarily placed in your brain. It will break out once every 7 days. If I don't use special means to help you unlock the seal, then you will experience what it means to be devoured by thousands of insects. Before the Yang family delivers the things you promised, you should stay on my starship first. Of course, you can do whatever you want on the starship these days. I don't care about you. You can also try to escape. Here, did you see it? The lifeboat is in the dock. There is no secret key. You can drive it away as soon as you enter. But before you run away, you'd better pray that someone in the Alliance can unlock the goo technique I left behind. Otherwise, the starry sky is so big. When you are in agony from the thousands of insects eating your brain, you will suffer a lot. If you want to come back to me to save you, you may die in endless pain. This thing is called the heart-eating goo of thousands of insects. In the world of immortal cultivation, it can only be regarded as a trivial trick at most. It is easy for any cultivator above the foundation building stage to solve it. But this is the interstellar world, and everyone is playing science. Using scientific means to guard the captives. As long as they run back, there are many ways to keep themselves alive. But this metaphysical method does not work. What's more, it directly acts on the brain. The high-end mechanical prosthetic transformation technology of the Interstellar Alliance is really awesome. It can be said that all parts of the human body can be replaced with mechanical ones, except for the brain. It's not that the Interstellar Alliance cannot artificially create a brain. But if this thing is made and installed on people, who can guarantee that the person with the brain replaced is still himself? It is not a technical problem to restrict those mechanical factions from completely mechanizing their whole bodies, but a philosophical problem. That is why it is the best way to directly put a poison on people's brains. Otherwise, if you put it in an organ in the body, people will go back and remove the organ and replace it in a minute. Then this means of restriction will obviously be useless. Yang Luxing touched his head and felt nothing unusual. But he dared not disbelieve Bailu's words. People like him who come from a high-level family naturally have some understanding of various advanced technologies. There is no surprise in the psychic aspect. Although the methods used by Bailu seem to be much more powerful than the psychic technology developed by the crazy people of the Dawn Alliance, they are also different. But psychic technology itself is outrageous enough. and many things are completely inexplicable in the existing technological system. This also makes it easier for people who know something about psychic technology to accept the strange effects of Bailu's spells. After explaining these things, Bailu gave Yang Luxing some communication permission to contact the family, and then she stopped caring about the things here. She drove a star battle record to leave the starship, and stuffed all the starships that were completely empty into the space of the trading platform. So far, there are already 8 proper warships in her trading platform space. These include a star destroyer, 5 Starfield firepower delivery ships, and 2 patrol starships. In addition, there are 5 Starfield firepower delivery ships waiting to be delivered as ransom. After one wave, her firepower can even be comparable to the main fleets under the military headquarters of some poorer star regions. After all, not all star regions are as rich as the Central Star region, which has more than 30 fleets under its jurisdiction. Each fleet has at least 3 star destroyers and hundreds of various starships. Even the top 10 fleets have the ultimate starry sky behemoth, the space fortress. Many poorer remote star regions have only a dozen fleets, and each fleet has a star destroyer as a flagship to show off. Her current configuration, at least in terms of firepower, is not inferior to the main fleets of some remote star regions. It's just that the auxiliary configuration is still a lot worse. There are no matching supply ships, large transport ships, large Mothra ships, etc. Of course, Bailu doesn't use these things herself, and she basically intends to give them to Suyi. After all, the power of the Interstellar Alliance, let alone the starships in her hands, even if it is multiplied tenfold, it is no different from an ant trying to shake a tree. To rebel with these things, even if the firepower is multiplied 100 times, if it really faces the Interstellar Alliance head on, it will only be crushed to death. It is impossible to defeat the Interstellar Alliance with technological weapons. On the contrary, it is more practical for her to practice for another 100 years when she reaches the Hedeo stage or the Duji stage and can kill a planet with one sword, to rebel with her own strength. In comparison, these things can definitely be used by Suyi. Chapter 490. In addition to the starship, there are a lot of technologies that will allow Blue Star to rapidly improve within 10 years and reach the 3rd level civilization or above. It was also Bailu who helped Suyi get them. She has not forgotten the things Suyi asked her to find last time. With her identity before, it was nothing but a pipe dream to get these technologies that were not highly confidential. In terms of technology, she can only use the most basic things that can be easily searched on the internet of the Interstellar Alliance to support Suyi. Now that such a fool has come to her door, she naturally has to take care of these things. As for how to end it next, Bailu is not too worried. Although Yang Luxing came to search her in the name of the military, his actual purpose was to covet the inheritance jade slip technology in her hand. Not to really find out that she stole the Star Destroyer for the former. She has audio and video recordings in the captain's room, which can fully prove that the other party was plotting first, and she did it out of counterattack. It is far from being a serious crime like betraying the Alliance. As long as it is not betraying the Interstellar Alliance, then there is still room for maneuver. If it is really discovered that the missing Star Destroyer was caused by her, then there is absolutely no room for negotiation, and the Interstellar Alliance will bombard the lawless place like England Star with a cannon in a minute. As for the fact that she has seized 3 warships in the Central Star region and directly killed hundreds of thousands of crew members, it is big, but it is also small. After all, the only thing that cannot be undone here is probably the death of hundreds of thousands of crew members, but in the Interstellar Alliance, people are the least valuable. Hundreds of thousands of people are just a string of numbers in the eyes of those masters above. What does it count for? As for the starship, no matter what, Bailu himself is a member of the military. The starship belonged to her, which only meant that the ownership was transferred from the Central Star region to the Orbital Airborne Brigade of Kingland Star in the Lishi Star region, Liuli Star system. Well, although it is quite outrageous for an Orbital Airborne Brigade in a marginal area to be equipped with a Star region firepower delivery ship and 2 patrol ships, but this is not unacceptable. Compared with what Bailu can give to those high level people in the Interstellar Alliance, these things are really nothing. Hello, is this senior sister Bailu in? The captain's room, a sweet female voice came from the other end of the interstellar call. Senior. Sister Lee, call me when you have time. I think everything has been settled. Is the old man in good health? Bay. Lou replied with a smile before the video call. It's fine. It's fine. Senior Sister Bay, your medicine is really amazing. Grandpa just drank a small can, and now he feels like he is 30 years younger. It's better than the psychic medicine developed by the Dawn Alliance. There are people in this world who want to ascend mechanically and gain a long life by constantly mechanizing their bodies naturally. There are also people who do not want to replace their bodies with cold machines. The Lee family is such a family point. If the Yang family is a giant in the Interstellar Alliance, with power spanning politics, business and military, then the Lee family is one of the original shareholders of the Interstellar Alliance. The Interstellar Alliance Supreme Council has only 9 seats, and the 3 big families including the Lee family, as the earliest founding families of the Interstellar Alliance, can occupy a seat permanently without votes. The gold content does not need to be said much. In comparison, the Yang family can only be regarded as a rising star that has been in the limelight in recent years. Unfortunately, the Lee family does not support prolonging life through mechanized bodies. They would rather die of illness than accept any form of prosthetic transformation. Of course, if they are forced to install prosthetics due to functional failure caused by accidental injuries or missing arms and legs, they will also undergo partial transformation. It is not that pedantic. It is precisely because of this family tradition of the Lee family that the Interstellar Alliance will acquiesce to the disgusting bug of the Dawn Alliance to continue to secretly study psychic technology while shouting against the Interstellar Alliance. In addition to the Lee family, the entire faction that has a close relationship with the Lee family almost has a similar insistence, that is, refusing to be completely mechanized. Machines can only be used as tools, not as bodies. This is their philosophy. In the Star Harbor Military Academy, where Bailu is located, there are many noble children from the Interstellar Alliance studying there. She just happened to know a family member from one of the Lee family factions. After paying a little bit of the water of life, she quickly gained the favor of these family members because it is very uncomfortable for a person's body to stay in space for a long time without allowing mechanical transformation, and the body can only be repaired through the most advanced medical technology. The elderly in these families are fine, usually staying on the surface of the planet with a suitable gravitational environment. And these young people need to go out and make a living, so naturally they can't stay on the planet all the time. Therefore, they have to receive some medical treatments to keep their health for a long time, and even many people have to sleep in a special medical cabin every day. The benefit that the white deer brought to them was to strengthen their physical constitutions through the water of life, so that the children from these family backgrounds would not have to worry about diseases that might be caused by staying in outer space for a long time due to insufficient gravity, space radiation, and other reasons. Through these small means, she quickly became involved with the children of the family who insisted on not undergoing physical transformation, and through the introduction of these people, she got to know the real top dignitary of the Star Alliance, the little Princess Lilua of the Lee family. After seeing the magic of the water of life, the little princess of the Lee family showed great interest in it. And under Bailu's deliberate guidance, Lilua repeatedly asked Bailu if there was any more advanced water of life that could extend people's lives, because the head of the Lee family, one of the 9 highest council members of the Interstellar Alliance, is currently nearly 90 years old and is almost reaching the limit of his lifespan without undergoing mechanical transformation. So on the eve of his graduation as a temporary student of Starport Academy, Bailu reluctantly took out a little bit of this high concentration water of life. After giving it to Lilua, he graduated successfully the next day and became the captain of the transport ship. He completed the last job and started the return journey. Calculating the time, Lilua should have returned to the center of power in the Central Star Territory at this point and given the water of life to the big boss. As long as it's useful, we actually have some similar things here that can increase the lifespan and personal strength of the human body without undergoing prosthetic transformation, but it may take some time to study. Hearing this, Lilua immediately promised, "Senior sister, you don't have to worry about this. My grandfather just said that you can do it without any worries. I guarantee that no one will dare to try your psychic skills. I heard that you had some conflicts with the Yang family, right? Don't worry, Grandpa said he would come forward to help you deal with it, but if similar things happen in the future, it's best not to be so aggressive. Chapter 491. After getting the answer she wanted, Bailu exchanged a few more polite words with the other party and continued to paint a few big cakes about psychic energy. Before ending the call point, the high-level officials of the Interstellar Alliance are well informed, and what happened here just now cannot be covered up. Even if she kills all the living creatures on the scene, the 3 starships belonging to the Interstellar Alliance military will transmit the relevant logs back to the headquarters. The fact that Yang Luxing took the fleet to abuse his power for personal gain, but was beaten up by others, will be spread among the high-level military officials in a minute point. She probably guessed that the people of the Li family called at this time because they knew the situation here. The purpose is also very simple, probably to recognize the water of life and the inheritance. Jade slips recognize the psychic technology in her hands and are willing to cooperate with her so that she doesn't need to be afraid of the people of the Yang family. However, Yang Luxing abused his power for personal gain, so he was beaten, and the matter could end here. Just get some benefits and end it. Don't really kill people, otherwise everyone will look bad. At that time, the Yang family will not be able to get off the stage, but the matter will be difficult to deal with. Of course, this cannot cause human death, and it only refers to the life of Yang Luxing, the direct descendant of the Yang family. As for those ordinary crew members, their lives are probably not considered lives in the eyes of the top bosses of the Interstellar Alliance. They are just a string of cold numbers. The cooperation with the Li family is probably part of the Bailu plan. The Interstellar Alliance is a behemoth that cannot be countered by pure force, and she has never intended to really overturn the table and fight with the Interstellar Alliance. The good news is that the forces within such a behemoth are usually extremely complicated and intertwined, and it is not that they are united from top to bottom and cannot be impervious to water she wants to operate, and there is plenty of room for operation. To be more specific, it is nothing more than forming alliances. Now her power is still too small compared to those behemoths, so she needs to package these metaphysical things on hand into some kind of psychic technology to win the favor of the bosses and accumulate capital in the early stage. When the accumulated capital is enough in the future, the space left for her to operate will naturally become larger and larger compared to the limitations of the single planet civilization of Blue Star, where Suyi is, the Interstellar Alliance, where she is often more acceptable to people when it comes up with some outrageous things. After all, Blue Star is so small, and the resource output is also fixed. After it has developed to a certain extent, if you want to do something big, people can guess whether you are doing these things in a few minutes through some basic material trade. For example, Xianyu Group rebuilt Penglai Island, and many buildings on the island are used as the company headquarters. When it was first built, it actually aroused the suspicion of many powerful countries on Blue Star, because you have to purchase the corresponding raw materials for such a large project, right? After all, in the vast ocean, can you still use local materials? There should be a corresponding construction period, right? What the hell is it that it was built overnight? The satellites in the sky are all there, and it was clear that this island was only a little bit big yesterday. There are too many problems, which will naturally arouse suspicion. In addition, there are various technologies that Xianyu Group brought out in the early days, many of which require a large number of scientific research equipment and scientific researchers to study for years, but your Xianyu Group was almost penniless at that time, and there were simply not so many people and resources to use. The destination of resources in this world can be roughly calculated, and there is no consumption of your share. In this way, people's suspicion of you is of course justified. The advantage of the Interstellar Alliance is that it is too big. For hundreds of years, with such a huge size of the Interstellar Alliance, the control of its own territory is limited to the fact that there are no rebels who dare to rebel openly in the territory. and all the planets in the territory can collect taxes. As for more specific things, it is difficult to manage. Not to mention the marginal starfields, even the central starfield, some inconspicuous life planets. Many of their laws are different from the laws of the Interstellar Alliance. Really remote, such as Kingland Star where Bailu stayed. It really is a main theme of you can do whatever you want. As long as you don't openly raise the flag of rebellion, the Alliance will not care. In this case, Bailu insisted that the psychic technology was slowly developed by his team on a barren planet that was unknown to the public for decades. No one can find fault with it. As for where this planet is, and whether there are any relevant scientific research materials and technical papers on these psychic technologies, sorry, it's a trade secret. The core trade secrets of many giant companies are hidden in some unknown corner of the starry sky. They can hide, but I can't. So the source of these technologies is not a problem for Bailu. What she really needs to cover up is the almost infinite storage space of the trading platform on her body. After all, she really used this thing to make a lot of good things in the starport. If people knew about it, she would be in trouble. However, after getting the highest permission for the 3 starships from Yang Luxing, she turned on the signal jammer on the starship and intercepted the real-time signal sent to the military. After that, if she stuffed it into the space of the trading platform, there would be no possibility that the Interstellar Alliance would discover her ability. The distance between starships in space is hundreds of thousands of kilometers, and it is impossible for other people on her transport ship to see her putting the starship into the space of the inter-trading platform. As for the observation and aiming equipment, she had deleted them as a captain, so her subordinates had no idea what happened. They didn't even know where the crews of the 3 starships went after they arrived at the dock. After all, she had asked all her subordinates to leave the dock when she killed people. After killing people, Bailu asked various cleaning robots to clean the bodies and drag them directly into the incinerator for burning. It is no exaggeration to say that it is foolproof. The speed of the Yang family is much faster than Bailu imagined. It took less than 2 days for her to arrive at her hometown Kingland Star through the warp wormhole, and the compensation she had previously negotiated with Yang Luxing had already arrived. It even arrived faster than her. When she was notified, it was already placed in a warehouse on Kingland Star, just waiting for her to pick it up. It can only be said that it is worthy of being a wealthy family, and it is easy to do things. The handover process was uneventful. The person sent by the other party was not even interested in talking to Bailu. He asked her to count the things and confirmed that nothing was missing. Then he quickly took his young master home. He left Bailu with a warehouse full of drones of various types and 5 Starfield firepower delivery ships parked in the orbit of Kingland Star. Chapter 492. Suyi was a little surprised when Bailu contacted him. Because he had just returned from the magic world not long ago. The magic world has been basically settled. Only the former trading platform member Will is more difficult to deal with. The main reason for this difficulty is that he is hiding in the origin of the world. Even if Suyi wants to find him and see if the sword given by Lin Yiren can chop him with one sword, he can't find him. Even the next door Zeuxan world has no way to actively find the origin of the world, let alone him. After finding out about Will's past from the girl named Aang who is more than 1,000 years old, he thought that Aang, who was cultivated by the true god Will, would take him to find the other party's true god and let him kill the evil god. The result was far beyond his expectations. After telling those messy stories, Aang had no intention of taking him to find the evil god and killing him. Suyi took the initiative to ask, and people only said that the time has not come yet. When the time comes, the true god will naturally point out the way for her to take Suyi there. It is precisely because of this that Suyi has a big question mark on the credibility of the stories she told him. The evil god who gave up his original world and snatched the membership territory of the magic world trading platform may not be a good person, but the original Will in their world is probably not a good thing either. Both sides are obviously calculating against each other, and the appearance of him and Wee has obviously become a part of the calculation. In this regard, Suyi's approach is also very simple. If you don't say it, forget it. He still listens. Since the evil god and the true god are hiding their heads and tails and dare not show up, He simply ignores them. Point anyway. In the entire magic world, the only one who can really make him care is Wee Wee, who has become his wife. And he doesn't care about the life and death of others. Directly stuffed Wee Wee with a few life-saving talismans with these things. No matter what true god or evil god, as long as the strength is not greater than Lin Yiren, it is impossible for Wee Wee to be killed instantly. Point. As long as she is not killed in seconds, she will be invincible when she enters a trading platform, and Suyi does not need to do too much to ensure Wei Wen's safety. Point. As for the development of the magic world, everything should be done according to the plan. Point. Just pretend that nothing has happened. Now the most powerful Chiang Empire in the entire magic world is our own people, and the remaining forces are all chickens and dogs, not worth mentioning. Point. Naturally, we can develop it as we want. Point. As for leaving such a big trouble in the magic world, what will the future of this world be? Suyi doesn't care at all. Point. If Weni really wants to say, in fact, her concern is limited. Point. She cares about the food and clothing of ordinary people. But the most simple kindness makes her unable to ignore the suffering of those at the bottom of the magic world. Point. The bigger reason for the fight for the throne is that she can't swallow this breath because of her past experience. Point. Now that the goal has been achieved, the whole person has become much more Buddhist. Point. During the days when Suyi stayed in the magic world, this guy almost stayed in bed every day, pestering Suyi like he had tasted the marrow. Point. If this were in the ancient times of Blue Star, it would be a pure tyrant. Point. That is to say, there are still many old gods in the Chiang family. Those gods and demigods have almost all participated in political affairs. Although they may not be very professional, they are better than Wee Wee, who has no relevant learning experience. Point. Suyi caught these old gods to work as coolies to handle government affairs, and there were no problems in the operation of the Chiang Empire. Point. In fact, because these people have more mature political means and more prestige, the various problems of the Chiang Empire during this period are being solved in an orderly manner. The direction is still the direction that Suyi talked to Wee Wee before. Point. First, win over a group of nobles who can do things, suppress another group, and deal with the current predicament of the empire. Point. As for what will happen next, we will talk about it later. In this regard, the old gods are much more skilled than Wee Wee. Point. Naturally, they can do a good job. Point. After such an operation, Wee Wee, who was still complaining about the difficulty of being an emperor not long ago, became idle for a while, and even followed Suyi to Blue Star to plan to visit for a while. Point. Things in the magic world are probably handled like this at present. Point. If you want to completely change the bloodline theory that has been deeply rooted in people's minds, it will not be a matter of a day or a night. Point. The time required to change ideas is measured in hundreds of years and the length of several generations of life cycles. It is not a matter of a short time at all. Point. To deal with the true gods and evil gods, you have to wait for them to come out on their own initiative. If they don't come out, Suyi can't find them, and he can't deal with them, even if he wants to. So, this is what you got in the past few days. In the trading space, Suyi looked at the large amount of technical information that Bailu had traded on the panel, as well as 300 AIs of various types and more than 10 starships. There was even a star destroyer among them. Most of the technical information here was what he wanted Bailu to get before, but he couldn't get it because of Bailu's identity. Point. Those starships are absolutely impossible to obtain through formal channels. As a result, now, these technologies and high-tech products are lying quietly on the trading panel, and Bailu gave them to him almost for free at the price of 1 gram of gold. Sister, you're amazing, right? Bailu raised her eyebrows and seemed quite pleased with Suyi's surprised expression. Point. Then she briefly explained the source of these things and her general development plan for the future. Point. Suyi only realized after listening that Bailu was careless and looked like a bandit. In fact, he was indeed a bandit. Point. But in terms of political means, she was much better than Weni, a serious imperial princess. At least Suyi could not find any problems with her current plans. She took the initiative to use the unique advantages of psychic products to make friends with the top dignitaries in the interstellar world, obtain their support, and survive the relatively difficult development period. Point. Although the cooperation with the Li family must give up some interests, it is not a big deal. Point. It is just some necessary efforts during the period of accumulating strength. Point. After all, the interstellar world is different from the magic World in Blue Star is a world on the metaphysical side. The magic world is supreme impersonal force. If you have an individual force that is superior to everyone else, you can easily become the supreme ruler of the entire world, and no one dares to oppose you. Blue Star is limited by its low level of civilization and pitifully small territory. Whether you have superpersonal force or powerful technological weapons, it is easy to obtain the greatest power on Blue Star, but the interstellar world is not like that. If the magic world is a metaphysical world that is just in its infancy, then Blue Star belongs to the technological world that is in its infancy. Then the Interstellar Alliance is at least a super civilization in the middle and late stages of the technological side. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 493. It is useless to rely on your own force to deal with such a civilization. Even if you are a great cultivator in the spiritualization stage or return to void stage, you have the power to smash a planet with a sword. Facing such a huge interstellar alliance, I'm afraid you are powerless. Killing people is easy, but there are too many people. I don't know how many trillions. The territory spans several starfields and billions of light years. Even if you hit a planet with one sword, you don't know how long it will take to get to the next planet without the technical support of the Interstellar Alliance. After all, even a cultivator in the return to void stage does not have the ability to break through the void point, but the Interstellar Alliance really has wormhole jump technology. No matter how powerful you are as a cultivator in the return to void stage, with the ability to penetrate the sky and the earth, if you can't beat them, can you still run away? There are hundreds of thousands of life planets under your command spread across several starfields. If you want them, they will give them to you. You have to chop them one by one like chopping melons, and you have to chop them until the end of time. By the time you finally chop off all the planets of the Interstellar Alliance in the vast starry sky, they may have already gone to some corner of the universe to develop a larger alliance. Moreover, it is hard to say whether the cultivators in the incarnation and return to void stages can withstand the Star Destroyer cannon. Even if they can, the Interstellar Alliance has some more outrageous weapons. For example, antimatter bombs. One will become a black hole. Can you bear it? In this world, the biggest role is to behead and make the opponent disappear from the physical level with a clear target point. But when the target changes from a single person to a civilization, it is completely not the field that the practitioners of the metaphysical side are good at. Let alone Belu alone. Even if Linearan's world of cultivation is pulled over to fight a super war between worlds with the Interstellar Alliance, it is hard to say who will win or lose in the end, but the Interstellar Alliance will definitely be invincible. Although the cultivators in the Mahayana stage of the crossing tribulation stage will also master some abilities of shuttling through space to a certain extent, they can accurately transmit regardless of distance. But the distance of this precise transmission is obviously impossible to reach the level of crossing hundreds of millions of light years. This has nothing to do with the advantages and disadvantages of the civilization form, but a question of development direction. Linearan's world does not have the concept of the universe. It is an extremely huge world with very concentrated matter, but no matter how big you are, you can't beat the universe form world with dispersed matter at a distance of hundreds of millions of light years. Even the Mahayana period can only sigh in despair. If the two worlds really fight, the Interstellar Alliance has been invincible from the beginning. Even if this war lasts for 1,000 or 10,000 years, as long as the immortal cultivators on the metaphysical side do not learn to use the Interstellar Alliance's jump technology, the Interstellar Alliance will not lose. This is the case in the world of immortal cultivation, let alone Belu alone. With this strength, she might not even be an outer disciple in Linearan's Hehuan sect. It is nothing but a fool's dream to rely on her own cultivation. and the 10,000 souls banner that Lin Yiren dislikes and is too weak to use to pry the entire Interstellar Alliance point as he came into contact with more and more different worlds. Sui probably had different ways of dealing with different worlds for the magic world, which has a low level of civilization and relatively backward ideas of course. There is no need to say more, just break their rules directly point for the interstellar world, which has already made great achievements in science and technology, and the overall strength of civilization has far exceeded the world under control point. If you want to get along, you naturally have to adapt to other people's game rules and use the advantages of the trading platform to quickly enhance yourself by using other people's rules and gameplay point. After all, you can't break it if you don't adapt, so what can you do? And Bailu's current approach obviously coincides with his thoughts, and it's even better than he thought. At least now he has successfully embraced the fire of the big boss. Awesome. So, Yi did not hesitate to praise Bailu and expressed his appreciation for Bailu's decision point. At the same time, he also modified the items of this transaction point. Bailu wanted to give him these technologies for free, but he couldn't really do it for free point. It just so happened that I got a batch of talismans from Lin Yiren before, and dueling, and Wei gave them to Bailu. Naturally, I have to give some to Bailu point. In addition, there are also a batch of low and medium level cultivation techniques he already knew before, that the interstellar world is not short of cultivation resources. The spiritual energy there is not very rich, but at least it is enough for people to cultivate to the nascent soul stage and the god transformation stage point. And there are also spiritual stones in the interstellar world, and there are even quite a few of them point. When excavating some special mineral resources, you can often dig out the accompanying spiritual stone veins from them point. Sui guessed that these mineral resources that are regarded as a standard by the Interstellar Alliance and used to configure special materials are mostly minerals that have been mutated by spiritual energy point. It is precisely because of the existence of these spiritual stones that there is an organization like the Dawn Alliance that is against the Interstellar Alliance and specializes in studying psychic technology point. In addition to basic cultivation resources such as spiritual stones, there are even a lot of spiritual herbs, spiritual medicines and spiritual beasts produced there point. This is also what Bailu said point. According to her, many of the spiritual medicines and spiritual beasts have even been tamed by the Interstellar Alliance and are used in various fields such as medical care and catering point. Before, she had no idea about these things. She thought they were special plants and animals cultivated by those medical giants. Later, she came into contact with basic cultivation and learned about these cultivation knowledge from the jade slips. Then she realized that these things were actually grown naturally in the spiritual environment point. It's just that, because the Interstellar Alliance is on the technological side, they have limited knowledge of these things containing spiritual power, so they can only be used as food or medicine point. The people over there may also realize that this thing is related to spiritual energy. After all, the more spiritual energy the growth environment of spiritual medicine and spiritual beasts must be, the better. Just based on experience, you can guess 1 or 2 point. It's just that their understanding of spiritual energy is really limited, so it's difficult to develop other uses besides eating point in such a world where cultivation resources are completely abundant. Bailu just happens to want to develop her own power at this time point. Then it's natural to get a batch of cultivation methods for her to cultivate a group of trusted confidants facing the huge interstellar Alliance fleet. Even if these people have achieved some success in cultivation, it's difficult to affect the overall situation point, but they are still much more powerful than the Alliance warriors wearing power armor iron lumps, right? It is also very useful for Bailu's plan. Did you really find these basic skills? As expected, Bailu was surprised. If it is useful to you, I must get it for you. TSK, you are so slick. Bailu sneered, obviously not believing such nonsense, but she was quite pleased in her heart, and then she said provocatively, come on, I haven't seen you for half a month, let me see if you are weak. Chapter 494. After practicing dual cultivation with Bailu for a long time, the trading space finally quieted down. Finally, they started talking about business. I have basically settled the affairs of the other world. There are some troubles left, but they are not big. So, Yi stroked the soft back of the beauty in his arms and said softly, what about you? What are your plans for the future? What plans can I have? I can hold on to the thighs of the Lee family and play with the giant Enterprise. Bei Lu's tone was lazy, and he lay quietly in Suyi's arms without even wanting to move. Then? What, then? For example, destroy the Interstellar Alliance and replace it. I'm not bored. Why do I do these things? Bailey rolled his eyes. With the wealth seized by the inheritance jade slip technology, it is easy to build a huge enterprise with immeasurable value on our side. By then, those brothers who followed me to rob and kill will have all the wealth and glory they want. Whatever technology you want from the Interstellar Alliance, I can easily give it to you. Why go to so much trouble to destroy the Interstellar Alliance? There is no benefit. She is just a pure life person, and her goal is to lead her brothers who followed her to rob and kill to live a good life. As for the trivial matters of the Interstellar Alliance, the controversy between machinery and psychic energy, she is too lazy to care. Anyway, it will not have any impact on her at that time. That's right. Suyi nodded. Everyone has their own pursuits. He can't force Bailu to do something she is not interested in, just because she is his person. Moreover, it is much more difficult to kill the Interstellar Alliance and replace it than to help Wei Wei become the emperor of the Chiang Empire. What if you kill all the high level people of the Interstellar Alliance and occupy the entire central starfield? They have more strategic depth and more backup plans for the power of the high level people. Even if the high-level people destroy all the Interstellar Alliance, it will not collapse. This is not a problem that can be solved by force at all. At least now, neither Suyi nor Bailu have such force. So there is no need to force the same as the magic world and firmly control the interstellar world in their own hands like Bailu, who only pursues what individuals want to do without being bound by the original big forces over there. It will be much bigger. The two chatted for a long time, probably talking about Bailu's subsequent plans. Suyi realized that Bailu was indeed much better than Wei Wei in this regard. He planned step by step and did not pursue getting everything done in a short time. Anyway, the main point is to take it slowly. After leaving the trading platform, Suyi returned to Blue Star again after several days. After meeting Yuling and saying only a few words, he heard Yuling say, "You are back at the right time. Our company's negotiations with some countries just started today. This matter is quite troublesome. Since you are back, you can handle it yourself." Troublesome? What kind of trouble? Suyi was a little surprised. Logically speaking, there should be nothing on Blue Star that can trouble him, or the Shianayu group. The 5 major countries of Blue Star have agreed to our previous request, and are currently destroying nuclear weapons and related technical data. However, the reason why it has not been completed is mainly because there are still several small countries that illegally possess nuclear weapons and have been unwilling to give in. Perhaps, in the eyes of their top leaders, only by truly mastering this kind of world-destroying weapon can they and their countries rest assured. In fact, according to the previous operating rules of Blue Star, there is no problem, but they still use the previous ideas to view the world, which is a bit out of date, because these small countries are still unwilling to destroy the relevant weapons and technologies. This matter has not been completed until now. The 5 major countries said they were destroying them, but in fact they only verbally agreed and were watching how to deal with these small countries that are unwilling to give up nuclear weapons, and how to allocate them quotas for the gate of time and space after everything is completed, is probably the topic of this meeting. According to the normal process on Blue Star, this kind of meeting usually lasts for a few days, not a day. Before you came back, there was no one else in the company who was suitable for this. I was planning to go there myself. Now that you have come back from another world, it is of course more appropriate for you to go. The relevant plan was originally part of the Blue Star human screening plan formulated by Suyi. When formulating this plan, he and Xianshu had already anticipated that this situation would occur. After all, those big countries have big undertakings. Even if they give up doomsday weapons such as nuclear weapons, they have strong military strength to ensure their own safety. And those small countries with nuclear weapons are completely different. Their military strength is relatively weak. It usually takes a long time and many generations of efforts to develop nuclear weapons, and rely on this as the foundation of their survival point. Now Shayanayu group wants them to give up these weapons by giving them a few quotas, so they are naturally unwilling point, because once they lose these things, the international status of these small countries will immediately drop off a cliff point, even if they can obtain the qualification to go to another world. It cannot make up for the harm caused by destroying the foundation of their survival point. After all, their own strength is limited. Even if Sui opens the gate of time and space for them to explore all over the country, they can't actually develop anything. Point giving up nuclear weapons to develop other worlds is beneficial to big countries, but for these small countries, it is equivalent to cutting off one arm to fight for the right to explore another world. That seems to have no great effect. Point. If they are willing, then they are not smart. Point. From what Shayanayu group has shown so far, Sui has no problem of intervening in all international affairs and national disputes, just because his own strength is strong enough. Point. In the oil area, it was just because of unknown reasons that the kingdom of God was split apart. Apart from that, he rarely interfered with some existing disputes on Blue Star. For example, Damao and Ermao have been fighting more and more fiercely recently, and their dog brains are almost exhausted. Shayanayu group has not intervened to mediate. Point. Even the oil area not far from the headquarters of Shayanayu group has recently caused a lot of things here, because the bald eagle urgently needs to suck blood to recover blood. Point. Some people use color change to get what they want, while others simply start a war to get what they want without any shame. Point. Shayanayu group has never taken care of these. Point. So Blue Star is far from being a 100% safe and stable environment. Chapter 495. In this relatively turbulent environment, no one wants to be a fish at the mercy of others, or a pawn on the chessboard. Point. Naturally, they are unwilling to give up one of the few trump cards in their hands. Even to put it bluntly, the reason why they are willing to participate in this meeting this time is that Shayanayu group is so powerful that they dare not give this face. Point. If it were any of the 5 major countries that once dominated the order of Blue Star, or even if the 5 countries jointly initiated such a meeting, they would not even pay a single shot. Point. The meeting was set in a small town in Aozhou with pretty good scenery. Point. After all, the name of the meeting is to maintain the environment of Blue Star and ensure the safety of Blue Star, so the countries with nuclear weapons in the world are gathered together to discuss the reduction of nuclear weapons and the development of other worlds. The environmental factors account for a high proportion, which is also an important reason why most foreigners support Shayanayu group's proposal. Point. International conferences related to the environment are usually held in places with beautiful natural scenery. Point. Although this time is just a pretext, because the meeting is nominally led by the National Alliance, it is still in accordance with the previous practice of the International Alliance. Point. However, it must be said that the scenery of the place chosen is really amazing. Point. At this time, the northern hemisphere of Blue Star has already entered deep winter, and the selected location is terribly cold, with a long-term temperature below -10 degrees. The entire area is covered with silver. The hot spring hotel, where the meeting is held, is built at the foot of the majestic mountains. When you come out of the hotel, you can look up and see the beautiful and mysterious huge snow-capped mountains around. Point. It is refreshing. Point. Of course, at this time, only Sui has the heart to visit these scenery. Point. Representatives from various countries and reporters from all over the world have already arrived here, but the main person has not come yet, so everyone can only chat in groups of 3 or 2 and wait honestly. Point. As soon as they saw the beautiful landing craft of Shayanayu group landed directly on the square in front of the hotel, the representatives of various countries around them lit up and came over directly. Point. Although they had received news before, they heard that Sui, the big boss of Shayanayu group, seemed to have some other affairs and was currently in another world and could not participate in this meeting. Point. The person who came on behalf of Shayanayu group might be the indescribably beautiful elf lady. Point. But it obviously made no difference to them, as long as the person who came could represent Shayanayu group. No matter where they went on Blue Star, they were destined to be the most distinguished guests, including the bald eagle, which was once beaten by Shayanayu group, and now it has become completely honest. Point. If Sui or Yuling really wanted to go to Bald Eagle, they would probably have to open the couch To welcome them. It is absolutely impossible for the bald eagle commander to sit on the sofa and let the guests sit on the small stool. It might even be the other way around, letting the people of Shia group sit on the big sofa and the bald eagle commander himself sitting on the small stool to listen to the training. Accompanied by the low roar of the motor, the huge landing craft slowly stopped. After the hatch was opened, the representatives of various countries who had originally sent their wives to negotiate with the elf lady first to leave a good impression saw that it was Suyi who came out. While they were shocked, they also quickly hid the last bit of luck in their hearts. The representatives of the small nuclear armed countries who originally wanted to reject the proposal of Shia group or to wait for the price and get more benefits from it were already half disappointed at this time. If you have to choose one of Suyi and Yuling to conduct this negotiation, anyone will choose Yuling instead of Suyi without hesitation. These countries all have their own staff teams and analysts. Nowadays, Shia group has disclosed more and more information. Through this information, they have naturally carefully analyzed the differences between the two people. First of all, it can be confirmed that Yuling is not a good person, but compared to Suyi, who always shouts and kills and really fights and kills, Yuling is much gentler, and because she was born in the nobles of another world, Yuling is still more disciplined most of the time. Within the rules, she doesn't care if she suffers some losses, but Suyi is different. If he is unhappy, he can turn the table in a minute. In short, Yuling can be negotiated, but Suyi has little room for negotiation. If he doesn't want to die, he just has to do what he is told. Of course, there is another very important factor, that is, these things are now important internal issues of Blue Star. Yuling is just a person from another world after all. At present, the general direction promoted by Shia group is that the two worlds do not interfere with each other and coexist peacefully. It is in the process of establishing how good the other world is for both worlds. This is to promote cooperation and development between the two worlds in this regard. Yuling, a visitor from another world, should not be too radical when dealing with these local affairs of Blue Star, so as not to leave a bad impression on the people of Blue Star and undermine the general strategy of Shia group. This is not what they take for granted, but the truth is indeed so. The reason why Yuling wanted Suyi to do this as soon as he saw him coming back is because of these reasons. However, these people have been looking forward to it and have been continuously collecting intelligence from both the Blue Star and the magical world. They originally thought that everything was settled this time. If the easy to talk Yuling came, even if those nuclear weapons had to be destroyed in the end, they would definitely be able to gain more tangible benefits as a result. The intelligence revealed that Suyi, who was accompanying the Empress on a sightseeing tour in the imperial capital of the Blazing Sun Empire in the magical world yesterday, returned to Blue Star today. Damn it, they spent so much money to buy information from those Kaishu people who went to the magic world. Could it be that they were tricked? What? Are you surprised to see me, Su? Yi glanced at the sluggish expressions of the people around him and knew what their little thoughts were without even thinking. It's an unexpected surprise. It's really an honor for us that Mr. Su can come here in person. The official staff of the League of Nations reacted very quickly and hurriedly came over. Let me just say, for such a big matter, Mr. Su, as a responsible person, halfway through his words, he suddenly froze, and for a moment he didn't know what words to use to describe the man in front of him who could be said to be the most powerful man in Blue Star. Entrepreneur. Suyi reminded thoughtfully. Yes, as a responsible entrepreneur, Mr. Su will definitely be there. I have told my colleagues many times. The man quickly added. Forgot to introduce myself. I'm Wu Shan, the new director of the League of Nations Secretariat. Although I'm not from Kaishu, I'm of Kaishu origin. Speaking of which, my ancestral home is also in Jiangcheng, and I'm a fellow villager with Mr. Su. Chapter 496. Although Suyi didn't know when the Secretariat of the League of Nations changed its Secretary General, and he was a Kaishu descent from overseas, but in this kind of situation, he didn't expect the other party to come and deceive him, so he didn't delve into it. After chatting with the nominally highest official of the League of Nations for a while, the other party got familiar with his face and left tactfully. The Kaishu representative, who had been waiting for a long time, also came over as soon as possible. This time it was not the old acquaintance, Old Man Lin, who was still in the magic world, to investigate the local customs. The person sent by Kaishu was a young man named Feng Yun. The position he held was not too high, but it was definitely promising in the future. If nothing unexpected happened, he would definitely be a member of Kaishu's decision-making level in the future. Of course, the young here refers to the young in the political level, and the actual age seems to be estimated to be more than 30 years old. For this kind of thing, Kaishu would never send a young man in his 20s, but a young man in his 30s is actually not normal. Logically speaking, this matter is too big, and it is not even unusual for those people to come directly. Only sending a young man in his 30s with a promising future is actually not in line with Jia's house style. However, after the other party said something, Su Yi understood Jia's house meaning. Mr. Su, hearing about someone is worse than meeting him. I'm right, but you have admired me for a long time. It is really an honor to meet you this time. The leaders want me to learn from you. I hope Mr. Su will give me advice. In short, he came to this super high level international stage to see the world. As for what opinions he needs to express as a representative of Jiao in this meeting, no need to express opinions. He just shouted yes, 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 and that was it. Unlike other countries, Jiao obviously knew that the representative of Xianyu Group attending this meeting was Su Yi. Even if Xianyu Group didn't say it, the gate of time and space was on Yingzhai Island after all. Now, except for the area around the gate of time and space, which was under the jurisdiction of Xianyu Group, all other jurisdictions were given to Jiao officials. Jiao officials naturally knew that Su Yi came back through the gate of time and space at the first time. That's why this happened. He estimated that if Yu Lingke had presided over this meeting, Jiao would not have sent such a young man with a low position to preside over it. After greeting the people from the International Alliance and Jiao, the people from the remaining countries also came up on their own initiative. Although many of the countries behind them have been treated badly by Xianyu Group recently. But in this kind of occasion, it is naturally not good to mention the past. Even the representative of the bald eagle came over to greet him politely with a smile on his face, and his attitude was outstandingly humble. This is how Westerners think. I can't beat you, so I'm polite to you, and it's natural to be cautious in front of you. With the appearance of the main person, the meeting finally got to the point. A group of national representatives representing almost the most powerful forces on Blue Star, plus Su Yi, the chairman of Xianyu Group, gathered in a very large conference room. In the middle is a huge mahogany round table with a total of 11 seats on it. In addition to Su Yi and the representatives of the League of Nations, the remaining 9 are naturally representatives of the 9 nuclear-armed countries. In addition, many countries that do not possess nuclear weapons, but have conducted in-depth research in this regard, have also sent representatives, but they are not qualified to sit at the table, and can only wait for the final result on the VIP viewing platform in the audience below. Many countries that have nothing to do with nuclear weapons also came to join in the fun, and they can only sit at the same table with the children below, and are not qualified to sit at the negotiation table at all. In addition to the negotiation seat, there is also a viewing seat below the conference room, with about 500 or 600 seats, which is now full of people from all over the world. There are many reporters and media personnel inside, but not too many, and many are pure passers-by who come to join in the fun for various reasons. As for the real media reporters, they have long been standing outside the safe distance around the round table. As a strong supporter of world denuclearization, and also the party that vigorously promoted this meeting after discovering that Xianyu Group has this idea, Wu Shan, the representative of the League of Nations, took the lead in standing up and delivering the conference declaration. It is worth mentioning that he used Kaishu dialect when he said these words. This is actually quite rare in a world-class conference. The content of the speech was also very simple, clear and straightforward. The main point was to analyze from various angles how beautiful the world would become after denuclearization, and how bad the world would become if the current situation continued and more countries participated in the development of nuclear weapons. In short, there are 10 advantages to denuclearization and 10 disadvantages to not technically rising point. After listening to it, Suyi couldn't help but applaud this guy, or the ghostwriter behind him, has a very high literary attainment. It was just a piece of denuclearization propaganda, but he wrote it into a magnificent article that made people feel excited. After listening to it, when he finished speaking, not only Suyi, but the whole audience burst into warm applause. The next step is naturally to discuss the wrangling part. In this kind of meeting that is connected to the real time of broadcast of various countries and is almost completely open. The reason for the meeting is naturally not that some small countries want to put forward more conditions and get more compensation for denuclearization. Nominally, this meeting is called the Blue Star Nuclear Disarmament Conference, and it is a very serious discussion. The discussion charter is not to bargain right away, but to discuss how to disarm, who will supervise, and how to ensure that all countries can honestly do what is said in the agreement after signing the agreement. But when discussing these topics, the issue of interest distribution cannot be avoided. For example, some countries have a lot of nuclear weapons in stock, which are usually maintained at a high price. Now they suddenly have to destroy them, which also costs a lot of money. Who will pay for this money can be argued for a long time at the meeting. Of course, they can argue, but no one dares to ask Suyi for money on such things. Everyone is arguing, but they don't really want to eat railguns. The meeting lasted for most of the day. Under the efforts of the representatives of the International League to mediate, the countries finally reached a consensus on the general direction and determined that they all had to destroy nuclear weapons, but in terms of how to destroy them, it depends on the plan of Shia Group, or Suyi's plan. After all, the number of nuclear weapons owned by different countries is different, and these nuclear weapons have completely different meanings for different countries. For example, this famous post-80s generation, it is not an exaggeration to say that nuclear weapons are the capital of his country. If Shia Group offers the same price as other countries, they are naturally unwilling to destroy them. Chapter 497. Suyi had no intention of intervening in their previous arguments, and he was playing games on his phone. Seeing that they had almost finished their discussion and were all looking at him, he put down his phone. Tell me, what have you come up with? Hearing this, a group of bigwigs who held weapons of destruction looked at each other and finally let Wu Shan of the International Alliance speak. Mr. Su, it's like this. Everyone is mainly curious about the opening of the space-time gate that President Yu of your company mentioned before, so that we can continue the discussion. After all, everyone destroyed these nuclear weapons for the greater benefit of the other world. But so far, only last time Yuling expressed the conditions at the press conference that they would open the space-time gate to them if they destroyed their nuclear weapons. As for how to open it, he didn't say it in detail. How do you distribute the benefits if Shia Group means that after destroying nuclear weapons, anyone in any country in the world can go to the other world through the space-time gate, then wouldn't these countries with nuclear weapons be at a loss? After all, they paid such a high price to get the ticket, while those small non-nuclear countries can go directly without doing anything. Who can stand this? This is still a problem from the perspective of Shia Group's kindness, allowing all countries in the entire Blue Star to go to the other world after denuclearization. If we simply count from the perspective of these countries with nuclear weapons, there are many problems. The most straightforward of which is mentioned above. The number of nuclear weapons in various countries is different, and the economic level is also very different. The cost and price paid for maintenance and maintenance cannot be generalized at all. For example, the Russian bear has tens of thousands of nuclear weapons, and the economic situation is still a mess. In order to maintain these super weapons that rely on them for survival, they have paid a huge price. And the 80's brother doesn't even know if he has 100, and it is even in the experimental stage. It's hard to say whether it can be used. Let them destroy all their nuclear weapons and then get the same treatment. The Russian bear will definitely not be willing. And even this solution for a lot of interest distribution issues is based on the generous opening of the space-time gate by the Shia Group. What if the Shia Group is a little stingy? For example, it allocates a number of quotas for each country to go to another world through the space-time gate at a fixed time. Everyone pays a different price, but the quota is the same. who can be willing, of course. In addition to these interest distribution issues, they have another most worrying problem point, that is, the SYNOPSIS group has never elaborated on how to distribute the benefits of the space-time gate, and only said that the space-time gate license will be opened after the destruction of nuclear weapons. If they don't ask clearly what this license is, what if they do it according to the requirements of the SYNOPSIS group, and Suyi or Yuling directly says, you did a good job, and each country can get a quota to pass through the space-time gate. Who can you go to for justice? Just ask whether they have opened it or not. So this kind of thing is like doing business. Before really doing things, all conditions must be negotiated, point involving the foundation of their respective countries. No matter how much they fear Suyi and SYNOPSIS group, they must first ask for the specific conditions and benefits. How to open up? Suyi smacked his lips. In fact, if these people didn't ask, he would really give 1 or 2 places to each country at that time point. Now that they have asked, he, as a decent person, will not do it so ugly in such an occasion. Point after all, there are countless cameras shooting, and there are countless eyes watching behind the camera. Point when they came, they even broadcast this kind of meeting, live to the whole world. What's the idea? Suyi guessed it when he came. It was for this moment. Point. But speaking of it, this is in line with his plan. Point. Now he is willing to cooperate with these people. There are 9 countries present here. If you exclude Jiazhou, that's 8. Let's put it this way. After denuclearization, each country will have 300 to 1000 people passing through the space-time gate every month. As for who gets 300, 400, or 1000, I don't care. You can discuss it among yourselves. Just tell me the result. After Suyi finished speaking, he continued to play games on his phone. Obviously, he didn't want to continue talking nonsense with them. Point. He also made his attitude clear. This was not a discussion, but a notification. Point. Even for the country with the most, there were only 1000 places every month, which immediately made the representatives of various countries present explode. Point. If it wasn't Suyi who said this, if it was anyone from any organization or country on Blue Star, they would have stood up and cursed. Point. What's the difference between this and sending away beggars? Since they came for the space-time gate, they naturally knew some of the rules that SYNOPSIS group had formulated when managing it after the space-time gate was established. Point. The most critical issue is the people issue. Point. Except for the large-scale transactions between SYNOPSIS group and Jiazhou officials, as well as some companies registered with SYNOPSIS group and Jiazhou officials in Qiang Empire. Point. Ordinary Jiazhou people who want to go to another world are strictly limited in the number of items they can bring. Point. That is, under normal circumstances, a single person is only allowed to carry 1 ton of goods through the time-space gate, and there is no limit on the value of the goods. Even if a special license is obtained through the various restrictions of the SYNOPSIS group, a single person can only carry no more than 10 tons of goods through the time-space gate. Point. In other words, under Suyi's condition, even if he gets the maximum quota of 1000 people per month, he can only carry no more than 10,000 tons of goods through the time-space gate in a month. Point. If the SYNOPSIS group does not give face, then it will only be 1000 tons for an individual. This may be a lot. Point. But behind every one present are countries, and they are the few countries with big mushrooms on the blue planet. Point. What's the use of exchanging 18,000 tons of materials a month? Any large ocean-going freighter can carry hundreds of thousands of tons. However, those who think this is too little are only those small countries. For various reasons, they are either blocked here or they're on the blue planet, and the materials cannot flow smoothly. Point. For example, in the 80s, many people are now hungry because of the sanctions imposed by the bald eagle. Point. Originally, I wanted to rely on this wave to find a suitable source of materials in the other world to make the sun shine more brightly. Point. What can tens of thousands of tons of materials do this month? After hearing this number, those big countries that already have a foundation were secretly relieved. Chapter 498. Especially the bald eagle. Point. What is the bald eagle best at? Stock trading. They trade futures, bonds, and technology concepts in the stock market. Point. How many things can really be put into practice? Who the hell trades futures and actually delivers the goods back home? for them. As long as they can send a professional business team to the other world, they can get enough benefits. It is not necessary to go there to burn, kill, and rob. Moreover, with a lot of high technology in their hands, they only need to bring the technology to the other world and send some equipment that the other world cannot currently produce. Then use local materials to build factories, recruit local people to work for them, and produce a large number of industrial products there to sell to people in the other world, and they will still make a lot of money. As for how the money earned in the other world can be fed back to the Blue Star, it is even simpler. The entry and exit of their time and space gates are limited, while Blue Star and Shia Group are not limited. Isn't it enough to give the money earned in the other world to Shia Group or Jiazhao, and then use the Jiazhao coins earned to buy the resources they need from these two parties on Blue Star? They will definitely be ripped off by these two parties, but in comparison, they will definitely make more money. Although they had huge conflicts with Shia Group and Jiazhao before, especially the Bald Eagle, Washington was blown up by Xinghan's destructive storm. But capitalists only have interests in their eyes, and it doesn't matter whether they want face or not. Science without borders is a lie, but capital without borders is true. As long as they can make a lot of money. What if Shia Group and Jiazhao make some money in the middle? Of course, the various hidden costs of transfer are very high. When Suyi and Xianshu were jointly formulating these plans, Xianshu carefully calculated this link. The conclusion is that in the end, the capital that owns industries in the other world through the time and space gate under these layers of restrictions will be full of oil, but in fact, the countries they represent behind them cannot enjoy any actual benefits. His set of moves to limit the number of people passing through the space-time gate and the number of goods being transferred will eventually breed a group of extremely powerful capital groups within these countries, or, to put it more simply, that is, oligarchs. Oligarchs refer to a small number of monopoly capitalists or monopoly capitalist groups that manipulate the economic lifeline of a country and actually control a country. Usually this group will have unique, even irreplaceable means of production, so that they can become oligarchs. And now, this irreplaceable means of production Suyi has handed them over space-time gate quota. At that time, in the relevant regulations on the personnel sent by these countries to enter the space-time gate, Shia Group will also add a personnel authentication system. The reason is probably that, in order to ensure the safety of the space-time gate and prevent diplomatic disputes with the other world, these countries need to submit a list of people who have passed through the space-time gate. Further limit the number of people entering the other world and consolidate the status of those who can pass through the space-time gate in their country. What is the situation on Blue Star today? The economic system dominated by the West has almost completely collapsed. The Bald Eagle sword, which was previously the world currency, can now only be circulated in limited areas and is far less useful than the Jiazhao coin. Jiazhao is now thriving and everything is going well because of the gate of space and time and the Shia Group. But places outside Jiazhao have ushered in the largest financial crisis in human history. Previously, the Western camp relied on high value-added industries to continuously reap huge profits from the third world and created a high welfare society, which is now completely unsustainable. Those small countries that were originally poor could still make a living by selling some resources before, but now they have no resources to sell, and they are in a desperate situation. They want to save themselves, but there is no way. Jiazhao obtains a large amount of extremely cheap raw materials through the magic world and produces those cheap goods. No one can compete with them. As long as the Shia Group and Jiazhao are unwilling, their economy will never be good. In such a turbulent environment, many people from the Blue Star outside of Kaishu are now actually counting on their own officials to open up new ways to make money through the gate of time and space and continue to lead everyone to live a good life. Imagine, under such turmoil and expectations, the people of these countries finally obtained the qualifications to pass through the gate of time and space, but in the end they did not bring much benefit to their countries, but instead nurtured a bunch of greedy oligarchs What will be the result after the complete collapse of the economy? Even the last glimmer of hope was shattered. Facing 500,000 marks of bread, it is self-evident what those who can't survive will do. And for Suyi, this is exactly what he wants to see. Anyway, at that time, there was no mushroom in the world to disgust him, and these people could fight as they pleased. Once the war starts, it is not up to them when it will end. Suyi, who is watching from the sidelines, can completely support them to fight until the end of time without having to personally go out. Fight until the genocide, until there is no one left. It sounds mysterious, but it is very simple in practice. At that time, we just need to let Shionayu Group open up a batch of more advanced weapons and equipment purchase rights. For example, the Sentinel-2 medium exoskeleton. Just act as an arms dealer and give yourself a neutral hat, and anyone can buy it. At the same time, provide weapons to both sides of the war and let them fight each other. When you see who is about to lose, support them secretly. Then insight through the controlled network. With human nature, they can beat their brains out in minutes. Most people will never think, until they die, that the disputes between them, the so-called irreconcilable contradictions, are just a part of the plan. It is actually similar to what the colonists of the Western camp did in the Black State, but Suyi's plan is not so obvious and more destructive. The small-scale conflicts in the Black State are not his purpose. At this time, the people in the conference room obviously did not realize that there is such a big pit in the number of people passing through a small time and space gate. The big countries who think they have mastered the core technology and can get a lot of benefits by sending a few people to the other world are naturally not panicking. They even think that Suyi's method is good. After all, they heard that there is magic in the other world, and they didn't intend to let everyone go to the other world. Otherwise, if magic spreads, the cost of their rule will definitely become very high. Since the Shionayu Group has limited the number of people who can pass, they can only send their confidants, and there is no need to worry about the problem of magic spreading on Blue Star. Chapter 499. Several representatives of small countries who have no core technology and have no confidence in making a lot of money in the market with their own technology and products in the other world. After hearing the restrictions on the number of people and the number of goods, they were obviously dissatisfied. But in front of Suyi, they didn't have the courage to bring it up. Just kidding. This gentleman is slaughtering the gods of the other world like chickens. They don't think that they are some national politicians on Blue Star, and Suyi doesn't dare to slaughter people. It's just that this is obviously too much of a loss for them. So, after thinking about it, someone called for a temporary suspension of the meeting and a half-time break. Others naturally agreed. The representatives of the big countries with technology hurriedly went down to communicate with the think tank team behind them. They were more clear-headed and knew that, since Suyi had already spoken, there was no possibility of changing this number of people. A casual remark from someone now is much more effective on Blue Star than the imperial edict of the ancient emperor. They didn't have the ability to make Suyi change his words, since it has become a foregone conclusion. They have to consider how to get more places later. After all, Suyi was talking about 300 to 1000 places. There were only 8 countries left besides Jiazhou. So it was obvious how to divide this quota. In this way, the most powerful ones get 1000 places, and the less powerful ones get 900. Those who are weak in all aspects can only get the 300 places. There are obviously a lot of games and interest exchanges. With the overall situation determined, everyone certainly only hopes that their own quota will be more than others. This is the consideration of the big countries, and the representatives of small countries who think that the quota is not enough are not thinking about how to divide it. They are not stupid, knowing that according to this division method, the quota they get will definitely be the last. So they naturally want to fight for it from other aspects. For example, Abba, a good brother who fights with us in everyday. Because of the good relationship with Jiazhou, when the break was announced, he immediately found Feng Yun, the representative sent by Jiazhou this time. I hope he can say something good to Suyi. The ultimate goal is probably to get more quotas. He started by saying that we have a good relationship and that he hopes to help his younger brother now that he is rich. Feng Yun's answer to this is also very simple. I'm really sorry. I'm here to see the world. The elders in my family mean that I just need to listen to Mr. Su at this meeting. I can't really help you with this. If you think there are not enough quotas, I think you can go and ask Mr. Su in person. Although I have known Mr. Su for a short time, I can see that he is very easy to talk to. The implication is that I'm a mascot, and it is useless for you to ask me. If you have something to do, go to Suyi Point. The representative of Zioba could only sigh when he heard this. Obviously, he also guessed why Jiazhao only sent such a young man for such an important matter. No matter what the matter is, as long as you go to the door, they will rely on their youth to say that they can't help you. What can you do? But he didn't give up. Seeing that Feng Yun didn't give in, he said he wanted to contact the higher-ups in Jiazhao to have a good talk. Feng Yun could only say that it was up to you. In fact, Jiazhao is now a bystander of the situation on Blue Star. With enough information, after the combination of punches from Xianyu Group, the senior management of Jiazhao probably guessed some of Suyi's intentions, based on their understanding of Suyi Point. Of course, this is completely speculation, and there is no evidence to prove it. But sometimes, some things don't need evidence. It's enough to have a guess. After having a guess, you can reverse it step by step, and get the correct answer soon. Although shooting arrows and drawing targets is unpleasant, it is not useless. It doesn't really matter whether the senior management agrees with what Suyi wants to do. After all, no one can stop Suyi from doing anything. And if this thing really happens, it will be of great benefit to Jiazhao. By then, there will really be only one Jiazhao in the world. And during this period, they don't need to do anything. As long as they don't cause trouble for Suyi, why not? So when Feng Yun heard that they wanted to contact those people in Jiazhao, he just wanted to laugh. To put it bluntly, they are just tools to contain us and under the need of geopolitics. What is iron or not? That is just the self-entertainment of netizens who like to personify huge countries on the internet. The exchanges between countries have always been based on interests first. And there is no tenderness at the right time. They can be the best friends, but if they conflict with the greater interests of Jiazhao, they are just a roadside and can be abandoned at any time. And now, compared to influencing Suyi's plan that will greatly benefit Jiazhao's future, this iron friend who is not even an ally has also come to give up. As for how those people in Jiazhao will reject their requests, this is not what Feng Yun should consider. Those old foxes are much better at fooling than him. No matter how much these foreigners say, they have 10,000 reasons to prevaricate. After Abba's representative left, Feng Yun thought that the next person to come should be the Post-Apocalyptic, but he didn't expect that it was Arslan's older mortal who came. He started with a bunch of curry-flavored English. A senior talent who was proficient in more than 10 languages. Didn't understand a single word. After the curry flavor of the other person translated it, he finally understood what the older mortal meant. It was roughly, I believe you also know that we, India, have the largest population in the world, and such a small number of places obviously cannot meet our needs. If you, Jiazhao, can help us persuade that gentleman, so that we can get more places, I'm willing to transfer all the disputed areas to Jiazhao. The older mortal was a little bit shrewd. He knew that he had no friendship with Jiazhao, and now only Jiazhao could communicate with Suyi, so he gave his conditions right away. He thought that this condition was already very generous and absolutely sincere. But when Feng Yun heard this, it sounded a bit threatening. With Jiazhao's national strength so strong, those so-called disputed areas had long been taken back. Now this old deng suddenly came to him with a set of tricks. Isn't it giving Jiazhao's things to Jiazhao? What are you doing with this set of dolls? People in Jiazhao always like to think about what they hear, and the older mortal's words to Feng Yun probably mean, although you have taken that place back, we still have disputes in name, so if you don't agree to my request, I will send troops to continue to fight with you. How can this be tolerated? Exclamation mark. Chapter 500. I'm sorry, there is no dispute between us. Even if there is, it is not a bargaining chip. In addition, Jiazhao is Jiazhao, and Xianyu Group is Xianyu Group. I don't have the ability to influence Mr. Su's thoughts. You should go and talk to him yourself. After saying these two sentences expressionlessly, Feng Yun turned around and left. Before coming, he had heard about Arslan's heaven-defying behavior, but after all, He was a newcomer in the political arena and had not communicated with the outside world enough, so these were limited to the 2 words heard. This time he saw him alive. He used Jiao Zhao as a bargaining chip with confidence and thought he was very sincere. The key is that he can see that this older mortal is not pretending to be stupid, but really thinks so. This is the most heaven defying. Hey, wait, we can still talk about the conditions. The older mortal hurriedly tried to keep him. But Feng Yan obviously didn't mean to continue talking nonsense with him. After talking with Asen for a long time, he was afraid that he would be infected. Besides, what he said just now was not a polite remark. This time he came here on behalf of Jiao Zhao, which itself showed Jiao Zhao's attitude. That is, this time all matters were left to Su Yi to decide. He only needed to do it. And there was no need to ask more questions. What these people wanted him to do now was undoubtedly the opposite of his mission on this trip. If he really had to do it according to others' requests, he would use the identity of Jiao Zhao's representative to persuade Su Yi to add some quotas to their country in that country. Then what would Su Yi do? Wouldn't it be better to just let him decide? It is important for people to know themselves. Feng Yan knows what his situation is, and he doesn't want to make that gentleman unhappy. He has now been exposed to the top structure of Jiao Zhao. It is not an exaggeration to say that he has a promising future, and he knows some more secret information. Although Xianyu Group and Jiao Zhao have always maintained a partnership relationship on the surface, they seem to be 2 independent entities that are not subordinate to each other. But in fact, the relationship between the 2 is complicated, and it is simply unclear whether he can make progress in the future. Depends on Su Yi's attitude this time. If you bloom, the breeze will come. This is often the case. Even if Su Yi has repeatedly clarified that Xianyu Group has no relationship with Jiao Zhao, his help to Jiao Zhao is more like helping his hometown. But when Xianyu Group has developed to such a scale on Blue Star, it is impossible to completely distance himself from it. His existence will have a huge impact on Jiao Zhao, and this impact is in all aspects. This includes Feng Yan's future. Of course. What happened here concerns the future of the whole world, and it is broadcast live all over the world at the same time. Naturally, it has caused a lot of discussion around the world. Among them, those who have nuclear weapons are discussing the most lively, and they are almost unable to hold back. Giving up nuclear weapons only gives us such a small quota for the gate of time and space. What's the use? That's right. I was thinking that after our country obtains the right to pass the gate of time and space, we will go to another world to fulfill our adventure. With such a small quota, it's not my turn. Su Yi is the most greedy capitalist in human history. He has built the space-time gate, but refuses to open it to everyone in the world. If you ask me, since this thing is built on Blue Star, it should be the property of everyone on Blue Star. Why should Xianyu Group and Jiao Zhao manage it? They should hand over the space-time gate to the world for joint management and fairly distribute the quotas, as well as the various resources and benefits obtained from the other world. I agree. We should march and strike to let Su Yi know how powerful we are. Where is our aircraft carrier? Send our aircraft carrier battle group over there. I don't believe they dare not hand over the space-time gate. I have inquired that this thing is on the sea, which is the home of our aircraft carrier battle group, destroying nuclear weapons in exchange for such a small number of quotas. If you ask me, it is better to directly use nuclear weapons against Jiao Zhao and Xianyu Group. I don't believe they dare to continue to occupy the space-time gate. That's right. Since the other party refuses civilized communication, we should also teach these barbarians in Jiao Zhao a lesson. Damn. I just climbed over the wall to take a look, and I was almost stunned. Is this still the Blue Star Network? How come I can't understand a word of what you are talking about? Or should I say that they are shameless white people? The technology of Xianyu Group, the territory of Jiao Zhao, and the gate of time and space built, but now these people say that it is the property of the entire Blue Star. As we talk, we have become the ones who occupy the gate of time and space. Aircraft carriers are too difficult to hold. Before, I saw people talking about bald eagles and happy education. Many people at the bottom still believe that the sky is round and the earth is square. I didn't quite believe it, but now I really believe it. Aircraft carriers fighting starships? Will they win? It's even more humorous to point nuclear weapons at Xianyu Group. Little brother, if your firecrackers work, do you need to remind me? The leaders of your gangs would have come to rob them long ago. Do you know why they dare not rob? Because your gang leaders haven't lived enough. You people of Geoshad are greedy without a bottom line. Why can't you share this time and space gate that is beneficial to womankind with the whole world? There are tens of billions of people in the other world. If we capture them all and make them slaves, we can all live a good life. I think what the brother said above makes sense. There are so many people in the magic world. If we capture them as slaves, we won't have to do anything in the future. We just need to enjoy ourselves. What a bullshit. That's the magic world. Do you understand magic? If it weren't for Mr. Su who treated their gods like pigs, Blue Star wouldn't be able to handle any of the gods in the magic world, and nuclear bombs wouldn't be able to do anything to them. So here comes the question. Mr. Su is now the regent of the other world and the executive vice emperor of the Chiang Empire. Why should he capture his own people as slaves for you? I think you want to be a slave. The arguments on the internet are one after another, but they can be roughly divided into several aspects. The audience in Kyushu is eating melons and watching the fun, while the people in nuclear armed countries are anxious and think that the quotas are too few and don't quench their thirst at all. Point as for the remaining countries outside Kyushu that don't even have nuclear weapons at this moment, they are even more anxious because Suyi only mentioned how many places nuclear armed countries can get after destroying their nuclear weapons, and he didn't even mention those countries without nuclear weapons. Maybe they won't even get the 1,800 places. This makes them anxious. After all, no matter how few places they have, they are still at the table. If they don't even have the qualifications to be at the table, they can only play standalone in Blue Star Roll for the rest of their lives. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.